meeting to order. This is a special meeting, so let's call roll. Bill here, DJ here, Gene here, Glenn
here, so to speak.
Alex here. All right, thank you. Now we would like to go into executive session to discuss Running Iron Ranch and the litigation related to the same, the subject matter, pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024B, for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions from the district's general counsel on subject matter, and CRS section 24-6-4024C1 to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators with respect to the subject matter.
I would amend that to say 4E1. 24-6-4024E1. I believe. Doesn't it say an E there?
Is that an E or a C?
It's an E.
E.
Yeah, it's an E.
E, okay. Accept that amendment. Do I?
Motion to see. What is it? What the amendment?
For clarification, Renee, is that an E or a C? Third line from the bottom.
That is an E.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Do I hear a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
I second.
A motion on a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous? All right, for those on Zoom, we will be back, in a little bit.
5 o'clock?
Yeah, 5 o'clock, the regular meeting will, resume, so we'll see you shortly. We need our lawyers in.
That's
So this, Marcus, is it just the board, staff and me?
Correct.
Yes.
correct.
So the remainder of the conversation that's going to occur in executive session will constitute attorney-client privilege communications, and therefore any recording that's being made can be stopped at this time and unless and until you receive further instructions in that regard.
A motion.
Okay, do I have a motion to return to normal,
Or adjourn.
or to adjourn
Special meeting.
the special meeting?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Glenn?
Let the hordes in, Justin.
Aye.
Unanimous? Approved.
So. Also, you took out all the real problems.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You need to be funny? No, I'm just not feeling such a. Yeah, how are you? Hello, how are you? Good, good.
Yeah, what was your?
Huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
I did.
Everybody's been let in.
So you and I were appointed to the committee to look
And our final decision was we were gonna address all of this after the new board was elected.
And so we're gonna address it today.
So here we are.
I'm fine. I can go on your promise. You want to stand up?
So that's a little while before the hit too bad, but.
Yeah.
Fun.
And call this meeting to order. There may be some more folks coming in occasionally. At 5:04. Let's do a roll call. Glenn,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
DJ, here, Gene, here, Alex, here, okay. Consideration of the agenda is first, on the agenda. Anybody have, suggestions or changes?
I would move to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none, passed. I'd like to just take a second to thank everybody in the community for the event that we just went through last week on the Oak Fire. You know, you see every night on the news, social media, etc., where these fires got out of hand and went from 20 acres to 20,000. Our firefighters, our sheriff, our admin people, county commissioners, the town, a couple of retired or just tired old firefighters here. That was a bang up job that was done by the entire community. People bringing food and, I mean, there's so much that went on behind the scenes that I think a lot of us don't know. So I just wanted to publicly myself thank this community from turning a potential huge disaster into something much less than that. That being said, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes of June 12th. Special and regular meetings, and we have to do these separately, is that right, Renee?
You could do those either way. If you'd like to do them separately, or you can also do them as a whole.
Okay, let's do them all at once, just take a chance.
I'll make a motion to approve the 6:12 special and regular meeting minutes, the 6:30 special meeting minutes, and the 7:31 special meeting minutes as written.
We have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion on a second, any further discussion? Glenn? Okay.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next is public comment, and because we've got a lot on the agenda, I'd like to suggest a few things. Public comment at this point in the meeting would be for things that aren't on the agenda later. And we would like to hold those comments up to 3 minutes. So please be succinct if you have anything to say on a non-agenda item. If there are several people here who want to talk about the same thing during public comment, not what's on the, on the agenda later, we would ask that either, if there's 5 or 6 people that want to talk, please keep it to 3 minutes, or maybe choose a leader for your group to say what you want to say. Just keep the meeting rolling along smoothly and getting us to move forward. So that being said, do we have any public comment for anything that's not on the rest of the agenda?
Yeah, Carl Young has his hand up.
Okay, Carl Young.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to comment. I just wanted to thank the PAWSD staff for how they handled things with the fires. We had this big hullabaloo, earlier in the year over fire hydrants and all of this. And didn't hear a single complaint about that. The water kept running even though your headquarters was in the pre-evacuation zone. So I just like to thank everybody on the PAWSD staff and the board for their preparation. So there was no interruption of service. Thank you.
You're welcome, and we will pass that along to the staff that aren't in this room tonight. Thank you, Carl. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to a public hearing for the consideration of petition for water inclusion at 1589 Forest Service Road 654B for the U.S. Forest Service. Who wants to take that? And let me, because I was around and I'm not necessarily involved, but I remember exactly what happened. And correct me if I'm wrong, on the right track or not, because you know I get off track. Right around Martinez Canyon, just before that, actually, there's a place called the Old Job Corps site. I don't know if you guys remember that, but PAWSD was bringing a water line from the Lake Hatcher area down to the lower 40 here. And we needed an easement for that water line. So that happened. The Forest Service gave it to us. We told them they could have water taps. The only thing that we missed is they never got included into the district. You can't get water from us if you're not included. And inclusion means you've got to be legally included because there's a map that draws a boundary around your property. So all this is a fixing something that was missed probably 15 or 20 years ago. So it's a very simple thing.
That's exactly right, yeah.
It is, and this came before the board at the February 13th meeting, 2025. And the only outstanding item was to get a survey of the infrastructure, the property and easements and have everything in place. And they provided that to us in the middle of July-ish, third week of July, and Justin approved this survey. So it also is a public hearing, so we need to open it up for comment to the folks.
Does anybody on the board have any questions about it first? Hearing none, let's open up a public hearing regarding this issue. Does anybody here or on Zoom have any questions about why this needs to be done? And it's just kind of a tidying up things. Hearing none, I would like to close the public hearing. And I guess I would be open to hearing a resolution regarding
A motion.
A motion to.
what did I say, resolution?
A motion to include, to accept the petition for inclusion.
Yeah, a motion to accept the petition for inclusion for 1589 Forest Service Road 654B.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Thank you.
motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is consideration of request for commercial designation for monthly billing from Generation Housing Partners LLC. There he is.
Yes, sir. I'll come on up. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you so much. Sorry.
It should be right, of course.
And just to let you know, I think we've got this entire presentation in our board packet. We've all had a chance to review it.
Wonderful, awesome. Thank you for the help, Renee, and for everybody for getting this on the agenda. So we're Generation Housing Partners. We have been before the board before. Most recently, we were here in March where we first brought up our concerns with utility billing for our new construction project, Trails at Pagosa Springs. That was actually the old name. It's now Timberline at Pagosa Springs. So y'all see that change. But just as a reminder, it's 100% affordable, 50-unit multifamily development off of Alpha Drive, next to the Walmart there. And if you go to the next slide, please. So just a quick catch up, we are under construction. We're about 75% complete. This is a picture that was taken about 20 or so days ago. You can see we've got all the roofing done. We're starting the exterior stone and masonry finishes. We've got drywall hanging in the units. We've made a lot of progress. We're very excited. We're ahead of construction, and we're planning to start leasing up January 1st, 2026. And next slide. So we're here again to discuss some of our concerns with our billing structure. And specifically, I pasted in this slide a screenshot of what our current bill looks like. So we do have a water meter and we are receiving bills. And I wanted to just talk through this upper right screenshot real quick. So on the left in yellow, you have the table that is the usage table, of which we are not currently using any of the water. So you'll see that's reading 0. And I just want to make it clear that this is not what we're concerned about in terms of billing. Any usage that we have on site within our units after we're up and running, we're willing to pay for at the rates currently posted. So the usage of water, that billing, we're not concerned with. What we're concerned with is here on the right, which is the base rates. The base water rates for just the right to have a meter, the right to have a water account with PAWSD. So every month, without any usage, we will be starting at $4,370.19 as our base rate for the entire 50 unit development. And so I want to talk through how that base rate will trickle down to the cost per unit for our affordable housing residents. 4730 divided by 50 units is $94.60 per unit. So that'll effectively be the base charge every resident who moves into our project will have to start at before they use any water. If you add in some estimated usage of about $58 is a conservative, reasonable estimate, we're forecasting that their total water utility bill will be $153 per unit. And so quickly, I just made a table that shows the percentage of their water utility bill compared to their actual base rent. For our 1-bedroom, 30% unit, their water utility bill could be as high as 26% of their base rent, which would be $573. For the less affordable units, the 80% units, it could be up to 10%. These numbers are really, really high. And if I could go to the next slide, please.
Well, I just have one question about this slide. Is how do you arrive at a utility cost of 153?
Sure.
I mean, it's almost like you're assuming that the units are going to be buying 9,000 gallons of water per month.
Well, potentially, yes, sir.
Maybe I could be wrong, but you're talking water and wastewater, not just water.
Yes, sir. This is for
Yeah.
both water and
Yeah.
wastewater. And we do have an estimated usage cost here of $58.40, which we estimated, each unit could use.
Okay, well, that's 9,700 gallons of water. The idea that a smallish 1-bedroom apartment with 380 or 400 square feet with the latest water saving appliances is going to consume 9,700 gallons a month. It's probably more likely going to be 1,200, if not lower. And the other thing is the monthly base charge, even though it says here prior to any water through the meter, will give you 2,000 gallons per month per unit. So for that base charge, you're also getting 100,000 gallons a month, which I would argue is going to completely cover water purchases in modern, efficient, very, very, efficiently constructed. So I don't see that utility cost as really being a very valid number.
Okay, understood. We appreciate that. Glenn, I definitely agree with your sentiment, which is actually one of our biggest points here is that the usage on these units is going to be minimal. And what I wanted to get to in the next slide is that the base rate that we're being charged right now is 1 EU per multifamily unit. In other words, 1 EU is what we would consider a standard single family house. That's one equivalent unit. And we're being assigned one single family house worth of usage and base charges per multifamily unit. I want to talk about about, your subdivisions here, Pagosa Lakes. And for 51 EUs of base charges, that would equate to about 51 single-family homes. In other words, for a half-acre lot, that could be up to 25 acres of single-family homes paying the same base charge that our apartment complex will be paying, just for an order of scale. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, so we've got 4730 as a monthly base charge. And we're talking water and wastewater.
That's correct.
Okay, so the wastewater, each unit, if it has 2 people or 3 people in it, is gonna use the same amount of wastewater possibly as a home that has 3 bedrooms, but it has 3 people in it. So the wastewater side of this equation applies to the number of people in the unit. The water, I'm confused about because I think we charged 6 EUs for the water when we hooked them up.
8.
8.
8.
So we sized the whole 50 units
Yes, sir.
at 8 units,
That's correct.
8 EUs. And that makes sense to me because this is a very small apartment. Yeah, they're gonna use wastewater, but they're not gonna be watering a lawn.
Correct.
Okay, they're not gonna be doing a lot of things, washing their cars. You know, they're not gonna be using a lot of water. So I'm confused why we're charging, and this gentleman's saying we're charging 50 units of water. Is that true? And why aren't we just charging 8 units of water as the base charge?
Well, I was on the board when we adopted this, and the idea is we were going to try and move towards the most aggressive and the most generous density bonuses we could give to eliminate the startup costs and to get more people into the market for townhomes, apartment houses, whether affordable or not. But having done that, if every unit pays the monthly service charge, which is essentially, 12, so it's essentially $21. Every unit is paying $21, and then they're also getting 2,000 gallons, so it's $33. And that was the balance we tried to strike between offering what still very, very generous density bonuses for multifamily and townhome construction, but then to have the steady income of that monthly service charge, because you could draw those same distinctions between a tightly constructed home and a home on 3 acre with 2 greenhouses. I mean, you could spend all day and you could probably create 15 or 20 different categories of use. So that's what we arrived at. We figured everyone can pay their monthly bill, but we're going to try as best we can to make multifamily and townhouse construction, try and eliminate some of those enormous barriers to entry into the market.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I understand that, but my question was really to the staff. Is that we're charging 8 EUs when we sign these people up. Are we charging 8 EUs for their water use?
That's not the current policy.
No, like as Glenn said, the policy that was developed back then was to charge 1 EU per living unit.
For monthly billing
For monthly
purposes.
billing
But
purposes.
the 8 EUs is for their
Like
CIX.
capital investment fees.
So we reduced their capital investment fees from 51 EUs down to 80 EUs.
But then we waive them,
And then we
which is what Glenn's referring
we
to.
waived a portion of them.
We
Yeah.
waived a portion of it.
I think that was our waiver, was the reduction from 51 to 8
Okay.
was our portion of the waiver. We still ended up paying, I want to say $200,000 in CIFs.
I have a question. So the total waiver, the waiver was based on the 80 EUs. We didn't, that was just the current policy. So
Okay,
the board had, last year, if they hadn't granted you a waiver, based on the AEUs, you would have paid 71,664 in your water CIF.
Got it.
You ended up paying 14,000 and change, and the wastewater CIF would have been 784,850. And because of the waivers by the board, you paid 156,970.
Okay.
So you're right, a couple $100, or a couple $100,000.
But those are two different things, Bill.
So I think,
Okay, I'm just asking why they're two different things. Because I'm seeing.
yeah, I
I'm
think our
seeing
question
that
is.
we have a multifamily situation. And it seems like we're treating them as if they're individual houses. And
For monthly
for
billing.
monthly billing
And
purposes,
for CFs, we're not, yeah.
and
And I think you're right.
it's affordable housing.
Yeah, and to Glenn's point, if our estimates are off and our real cost, utility cost or water and wastewater per resident is $30 or $40, then we're okay. We're just off in our estimates, but we're looking at our current bill and we're projecting what it could be, and we're very concerned that we're gonna be having affordable units that as soon as residents start getting their utility bills are no longer affordable. So we're trying to be preemptive. We don't have residents in the building yet. We will in January. But just wanted to throw that out there.
I think Glenn is accurate in saying they're not gonna use 2,000 gallons.
Yep, I would
I
agree.
mean, we
Yeah.
use 2,000 gallons and we have 5 people living in a big house.
Sure.
So, I think he's probably right that, and so if you're just paying the base charge for each unit. There's a,
It still
how are
starts.
we measuring the amount of water coming through that meter?
So there's a meter table. If we go to the next slide that I was hoping to share. Next slide. And actually, you can go to the following slide. I'm sorry. This was just the state. One more.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're just fine.
So I think this will be a great
Okay,
answer to your question.
that
And this
part
is-
I didn't understand.
This is typically how most municipalities decide what number of EUs does an apartment complex equate to. They look at the fixture unit count, which is a model of all the fixtures, the bathrooms, the sinks, dishwashers, and then you fall in a range. In our case, we're at 613 fixture units. So that sizes us at a 2-inch water meter for the entire development. And this table was designed to say a 2-inch water equates to about 8 equivalent units or 8 single-family homes. That's kind of the similar usage. So the point is, our water meter cannot bring in more than 8 equivalent units worth of water into the development. But we're being charged 51 EUs worth of base charges in water. And that's where our concern is, in a nutshell.
So if it was just the base charge,
Yes,
that you
sir.
were charged for each of those units.
Yes, sir.
You'd be more comfortable. And if we were not calculating water on top of that, water usage.
Or if we just had 8 EUs of base charge instead of 51 EUs, I think that's what we're asking for, is to be charged the number of EUs that our meter can handle for our base
Right.
charge.
But then again, if you were charged 8 EUs, after you use 64,000 gallons, you'll start paying very prohibitive penalty rates. Because the allotment will be based on 8, as of right now, the allotment, is based on 51 EUs, so or 50, you're gonna get 100,000 gallons a month to play with. So after 8, again, there's no question that this is a decision that the board made to try and both, provide a real opportunity. And in your case, it's not only the density bonus on the water side, but then it's, $600,000 or $700,000 of CIF forgiveness in return for feeling that over the next 3 decades, if we're all in this together and we all pay that $33 bill, those who use much more water will, of course, pay much more, but we're all paying a minimum of 33. That allows these projects to kind of pencil out over 3 decades and not be like such a big burden on the existing PAWS customer who, and let's face it, by definition, the existing PAWS customer is 100% of AMI. I mean, that's a mathematical reality. So anyway, that's why I voted for the 700,000 and would have voted for even more of a fee forgiveness for you because you're in District 1. And when I look at what you're going to pay, you're going to pay probably over the next 3 decades $1.2 million in fees. And if you were down in District 2, you'd pay us $40,000 in fees. So just as a business, trying to operate as a business person, which I'm not, in an enterprise, it seemed like a good deal to get this project up and going, to relieve you of considerable expense. But then everybody, and some people think it's odd, but you know, even the people in affordable housing units pay affordable housing surcharges. You know, because we have thousands of people at 50, 60, 70, 80% AMI who are not in affordable units, and they're paying all the surcharges too. So anyway, that's my personal opinion. I'm happy where it is, but
BJ has a question.
Yeah, so again, I'm kind of new to this, but I think from when I ran for the board, I think the concern was much like you guys with your tap fees, which it sounds like the EBU have been extremely good deal on. Because I constantly get told, hey, how did a tap fee go from $8,000 10 years ago to now 28,000? And in essence, again, still being new, it seems that we have an infrastructure issue. We're losing anywhere between 30 something to sometimes as high as 50% of our water that we're actually treating. And you have 2 ways to kind of pay for that. One is you knock the new guy, which I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying you have to make that money somewhere. And the other one is that you let the people who have actually utilized the water for that amount of time pay in their monthly dues what it costs to actually maintain the water. And what I like about what Glenn's saying is yes, we want to be in absolute support to affordable housing. We understand the need. We understand the fact that we're coming up on a huge crunch. However, once we give that initial discount, if we've given another additional discount, when we as the board know that we have an issue going on in the infrastructure, then anyone using that water, in my mind, needs to be a part of that solution. And that's why I'm in favor of the way that they did construct it. We give you the initial discount of, it sounds like several $100,000, if not pushing $1 million. And then we allow the people who are now using the water, even though they are getting a better rate, they're getting a better rate from you guys for rent, and I'm sure they're getting some assistance from government, stuff like that, the way it all works out. But at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that we have an infrastructure issue that everyone using water needs to pay their fair portion. So that's why I would be a proponent of keeping it at 51 EUs, and letting them pay their portion versus giving additional discounts when that doesn't help us solve an issue that's ongoing and has been for a long time.
Okay, understood. I just want to respond really briefly.
Oh, yeah.
We totally understand the infrastructure concerns. In fact, whenever we started and tried to get service availability commitments from PAWS, we actually hired a contractor to go out and repair. I think it ended up being 26 damaged or cracked pipes, off-site wastewater mains that were 3, 5, 8 miles away from our project. And we took on that risk before we even closed to repair off-site wastewater infrastructure as a good faith effort to make sure we saw this project through. So we're committed to that. We certainly understand it. And we want what's fair too. You said pay the fair share. We agree. Everyone should pay their fair share. Our only question is, do our 1-bedroom units owe the same base charge that your half-acre lots in Pagosa Lakes owe? Should they be paying the same base charge? That's our only question.
But to your point though, which is a very fair question.
Yeah.
To your point though, whether you have a 0.1 acre lot or a 15 acre lot, your base rate's the same.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying yes, and the fact that a unit probably would, and that's where I would say not knowing, but I would say, depending on what the structure is and what the intent of the board is, the intent of the board is to, again, create resolution to a problem that this does impact, which is, every time you turn on and off your water, you're using. That's where I would say, but I 100% want to acknowledge, yeah, that's a great good faith thing. We absolutely appreciate it. Obviously, that's something you guys had to do. So I acknowledge it.
Thank you. I think Alex, a comment? No, Bill?
So, Alex and I were on a subcommittee earlier this year to look at this question of how we charge multifamily. And we decided that because we were having a board election, we would wait until after the election to really dig into the questions that you're raising. And so I'd like to propose to the board that Alex and I meet and discuss what this all means and bring back a recommendation to the board.
This is just a comment that I have. Like BJ said, 10 acres, 1 acre, really doesn't matter. An EU is an EU, fixture counts, etc. I was on the board as well a couple of years ago when, I forget who was that came in, and before everybody signed on the bottom line, as I recall, they were asking for capital investment fee forgiveness, 100%. And I want to say that would have come to $1.5 million, somewhere in there.
If we had granted 100% of all 63 waivers last year, is that what you were?
No, just for Timberline.
Oh, Timberline, their total would have been 856,000. I think that closer to the million number was a total that Aaron might have given you for what we gave out for last year. So we gave 3 to Habitat and 10 to CDC. And then Timberline came and asked, and that vote, the board ended up reverting back to the past policy and used that calculation. So we had to go back in and figure out what percentage of your units were a certain AMI and then utilize that calculation. So it wasn't as clean as the CDC and the Habitat.
Well, that begs two questions in my mind. One is, as I recall, and this was when Paul Hansen was on the board sitting in your seat, you requested, or your company requested, 100% forgiveness of all the capital investment fees.
Yes, sir.
We went around for a vote and it failed. And it's not that we don't support affordable housing. The second question is, if they would have paid full fees, it was 800 and some thousand.
856.
What did they end up paying?
171,302.
Okay. So you got a huge reduction.
Yes, sir.
Because we support affordable housing. And I guess what I struggle with is, in fact, the question came from me. Well, I thought Paul said, what if we give them a 50% reduction?
I don't recall correctly, but Paul was throwing out a lot of different ideas at the time.
Yeah. Gene, I think the idea was Paul, I thought it was very, very, not surprising with Paul, it was very smart. There was the issue that we had provided a letter that we were going to provide, capital investment fee forgiveness. And are we pulling the rug out from under them? That was an issue. But then Paul pointed out at the time we provided the letter, the policy was less generous for units above 8A and even 60 between 8. So he proposed that we adhere to the policy that was in place when we provided the letter of support. And so that's, I think, how we arrived at the lower figure, but still very, very substantial.
Okay, so my final thought is, as I recall, I looked at who's ever was presenting at the time and said, does this work for you? Does this pencil out? And the answer was yes.
Yes, sir.
Here we are 2 years later, here it doesn't pencil out. We've got a signed agreement that assumes that it did. And I have an issue with that.
So I'd like to hear from Alex if he thinks our committee could do any good work.
Yeah, so, and I do understand and I'm sympathetic to that, to the idea that, yeah, you might have a 5-bedroom house on a half-acre lot that's paying the same base fee as a 200 square foot apartment or 300 square foot apartment. The problem is, I think we'd have to do a new rate study in order to be able to calculate that in, and figure out what that's gonna do to the rest of our rates. We're going into budget season now. I don't see us being able to get a rate study done before budget.
Either, especially with Airbnb.
Yeah, and we're, our CFO is moving. We wish him the best. He's excellent. But, we're going through some changes right now that would make us trying to get that fit into our budget this year very difficult. So going forward, I think that we should keep the subcommittee open. I don't know, do we need board approval in order to meet up on that? Because it's not a quorum and I think the subcommittee is still in existence. But I think we should readdress it. But
I just question whether it's needed or not.
yeah, I do think it maybe would be worth at least exploring the idea of could we make this more equitable? And I don't think, we've got 8,000 roughly customers. I don't think you're ever gonna make it 100% equitable. But I think it's worth looking into and seeing what we can do to make it more equitable. But that's also gonna involve a rate study and seeing, you know, if we're gonna give a couple of groups, because if we give you guys a break, I have a feeling that a lot of other people are gonna expect that same break. Especially other projects similar to yours. And my worry is that it's gonna affect our budget in a way that's gonna put us behind the ball, or we're gonna end up having to charge all of our customers additional money and raise the rates. And we have to look at that and pencil that out and see what it does, but it's not gonna be an overnight process.
Okay, understood.
And that's my opinion.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And Glenn, I wanted to address your comment. I mean, we're definitely not here to recut a deal. We looked you in the eye, we told you the numbers worked, and they did, and we closed, and we're gonna complete construction. Why we're here today is because I'm concerned about the costs that we're gonna be passing on to the residents. This isn't our financial bottom dollar. It's, are we gonna lease up our affordable housing development? We wanna make sure we do. I think we have a really high demand. I think it's still gonna work, but we really actually wanna provide truly affordable housing and.
But am I wrong that in a LIHTC project, I mean, Chapa is giving you the maximum rent and that's gonna include a utility allowance, or depending on how you structure it, it could include, it could be
Yes,
phrased
sir.
in different ways, but are you anticipating asking for less than the maximum allowable rents from Chapa?
No, sir. So you're correct. You can structure it with a utility allowance or without a utility allowance and have the tenants pay their own utilities. So we're structured without a utility allowance currently, which means all utilities will be passed on to the tenant. But in turn, their rent will not be as high as it otherwise would be. So
Right.
Either the owner is paying the utilities and reducing the rent or increasing the rent of the tenants, or it all just passes through directly to the tenants.
And is it 1 meter on the entire?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it just gets evenly divided.
1 2-inch meter. The base charges will be evenly divided. The usage will have a sub meter in every unit.
Okay, cool.
So we can monitor their usage, subdivide the base charges.
So then, and the sub-meters are yours.
Yes, sir.
You can keep an eye on that.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Are you comfortable if we
Absolutely, yeah.
have a committee meeting and discuss your ideas that you're bringing?
Absolutely, and anything we can do to help, we've done a lot of research. I started off in civil engineering, that was my background, so I was like, I was assigned to this job and I've done a lot of work on it, but whatever I can do to help, absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think essentially we're tabling any decision and looking at it in the future with no promises of anything. But,
I respect your time. I appreciate all the
Yeah,
info.
very much
Thank you,
so.
guys, yeah, absolutely. It's not, it's bedtime reading, but
Hey,
it's
when
important.
I was reading over it, again, it all made sense. It was just a
Yeah.
question of,
But yeah, thank you guys so much, and we'll look forward to circling back.
So, do you want a motion to table it?
do we need a motion to table?
No. Thank you.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
And let's move on to number 8 on the agenda. Consideration of request for reimbursement of 2025 capital investment fees from Habitat for Humanity. I think Emily's coming up.
Well,
Leah's
Yeah.
close.
thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Ballard. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity. We also have our only other full-time year-round staff person, Maddie Burgon, our construction project manager. So we did actually pay the capital improvement tap fees so that we could continue on our construction. We couldn't afford to risk not being able to get those taps pulled in time for your new board to make a decision. So we went out on a limb and paid for them, and we're here asking for a reimbursement on those. So I'm going to explain just a little bit about what we do today. And yeah, also I'm here to thank you guys for your support for years past in waiving these fees for our homeowners who are all under 80% of AMI. And yeah, ask for your continued support. So our job goes beyond just building homes. We are a nonprofit developer, but we perform all these other functions for our applicants, partner families, and eventually homeowners throughout the year. So at the moment, this is a really good example. I have 14 applications for my 4 houses we're building next year. And we're processing all of those applications and getting these people ready to see if our program's a good fit for them. We walk through our deed restrictions, the mortgage financing, everything that would be involved if they were to partner with us. It's an 18-month process for our partner families, and that kind of starts this summer and would end next Christmas. So all of this takes a lot of time. So we're doing the pre-qualifications right now. We invite them to partner with Homes Fund for HUD certified credit counseling and required home buyer education. And then starting in January, after a few more deed restriction meetings, we start packaging their USDA rural development mortgages. And then break ground in the spring, build all summer and fall, and
they help build.
yes, yeah, each adult contributes 250 sweat equity hours to the construction of their home. They come to different community events. They do different office tasks and just help with the organization in general and with the construction of their homes. So getting towards fall, and we try to get everybody closed and in their new homes by Christmas. It is a feat. And last year was the first time we were ever able to accomplish that when we had built 3 homes in a year, because we recently tripled our historical build capacity. We used to do just 1 per year. So doing good. So we are currently in year 4 of our 5-year plan to build 15 homes in 5 years. It started with the donation of lots from our Board of County Commissioners in 2021. We then got 5 more from Wyndham Pagosa. We then, thanks to the partnership with the CDC, got 9 more from the county commissioners. We equip these Habitat homes with net zero rooftop solar panels for long-term affordability. So not only are we bringing their first loan amount down to our cost of construction, we also mitigate those utility costs with solar. These are all electric homes, and I'm told by Dobson, our solar guy, that without the solar panels, their electricity bills would be over $300 a month, and they're consistently under $100 a month with panels. So, and then also partnerships like with PAWSD. You guys were actually the first to jump on board before we ever received any parcels from the county commissioners. PAWSD was waiving our tap for SIP fees to help get our job done. So this is a rundown of what we've done. So for the first 28 years, roughly, we built 1 stick build per year. In 2022 was when we pivoted to modular homes. So we did 2 that year to kind of hit the ground running, and we've done 3 in 2023, 3 in 2024, and we're working on 3 more this year. Our partner families include hospital staff, local veteran working in hospitality, and county maintenance, and a school teacher. So next year, I'm processing applications to build 4 homes and we'll partner with 4 local families for a full 15 homes in 5 years. So this was exciting. My favorite part is that we actually got closed and done before Christmas. But these are just the stats from our build season, close to 300 volunteer hours plus 1,200 sweat equity hours. Then we've got our offsite volunteer hours, which includes our realtor, event planning, fundraising, and our family services committee. My family services team is actually meeting with all my applicants. I think every evening in August between their other plans and our meetings is full. So we've got a really committed team of volunteers at Habitat. We also host 2 high school interns per year, and we partner with 34 local businesses and some subcontractors that contribute in-kind donations to lower the cost of our construction. We got our technical assistant from the Housing Assistance Council. We've gotten a lot of guidance seeking state and federal funding from that person. We brought in $250,000 from the Colorado Department of Housing. That's a little bit of a fuzzy number just because we closed on time in 2024, but in 2023, we actually closed late. So some of those dollars were on those 2 bills. And then we also, this is kind of a unique thing, especially for a small rural habitat, those USDA direct loans that we package in-house. We've had other affiliates and other nonprofits in Pagosa Springs ask us for support packaging loans for their buyers. So that's another service we can offer as available. So this is another rundown of our stats, just the numbers from 2024. And again, keep in mind, we did close 2 of our 2023 builds that year. So these are kind of our in-kind donations that we receive. So that's not cash. These are cash donations and cash grants. And all of this, our volunteer labor, the discounts from our local subcontractors, we don't phrase it as down payment assistance. I call it a forgivable silent second mortgage because our homeowners would never pay this back if they never sell the house. It's gradually forgiven and added to their equity over 30 years. But that's what we've leveraged all of this community support into offering $400,000 in down payment assistance last year.
For each.
Is that the average cost of a house in 2024?
No, our cost of construction is,
I'm not asking about cost of construction. What is this family paying for the house?
they pay our cost of construction. So it's roughly, I should rephrase that. They buy the house for appraised value. And then their first loan amount is either our cost of construction or what they can afford, whichever is lower. So it's over $300,000. And then these are just our impacts beyond just the homes themselves. We build not only homes, but it's also community. We bridge generations. We host bi-weekly barbecues. We have traveling volunteers. We're bringing people to Pagosa Springs to see our community, support our workforce, build these homes with us. We've got young families and children. We've got retired people all kind of working together. And it's a really cool sense of community that we create with our organization. These are our government and organizational stakeholders. PAWSD is the big one. Again, you guys were the first. The next one. And these are our local subcontractors who pitch in. Just, you know, subcontractors in Pagosa are busy and they still take time to show up and discount and donate their services on our job site. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, we also contributed $2 million of 2008 cost price infrastructure up there in Chris Mountain. We didn't intend to contribute it, but we wound up contributing it. It's probably worth about 15 million in today's construction prices. So
are those are like the tax lien lots you're referring to when they connected?
yeah, the whole the Eric Estrada development. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I do have we do have some holding costs associated with our vacant land. I'm very excited. I just got the checks last week. was granted property tax exemption from the state. So we got reimbursed our 2023 property taxes, which was a little bit more than all the, application fees. It's about $200 per application. But when you look at what they would have charged us in 2024, because property taxes are in arrears, we saved a lot of money. So, yeah, and you can see we do pay the holding costs for the PAWSD vacant lots. I only have the ones that are on water and sewer, but there's a couple others. I think just that top one is gonna be on, it's downtown, so it's just water. So just to kind of give you an idea, that we are asking for help elsewhere, not putting it all on the PAWSD board, but it is, I mean, it's a big expense. It would be difficult for our current partner families to afford our cost of construction if we had to include the PAWSD SIF fee in here. So it would be something, I mean, it would impact us going forward because that would be a gap we would have to cover that we weren't anticipating.
Well, I have a question, I guess, for staff. What they're asking for is capital investment fees for water and for wastewater that have already been paid. They're asking for a rebate or whatever you want to call it of that. What's the amount?
What's the total of the capital investment fee right now? Aaron, do you have that off the top of your head? I can do that. So it's
Probably about 75,000, I would think.
I'm afraid I don't, Renee, off the top of my head. No.
It's probably in the neighborhood of 75,000 for the 3 units, I would think.
for the 3
Nine,
units?
9-ish water, 16-ish wastewater for each one. I just wanted to add one thing about Leah. I'll be real quick. Bill and I were represented. We were representing the PAWSD board on this community 2-day kind of teach-in about affordable housing, and the woman who came from upstate, very dynamic, and but she kept hitting this point that nobody's building houses for 80% AMI. And she kept hitting it again and again. And as she did that, Leah was like next to me and very quietly, very diplomatically kept saying, well, we do. And I really appreciate that you do.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, I remember that training. That was fun to participate in that and see how, I guess, other parts of the state are dealing with these restrictions and coming up with a community-wide plan. But I'm glad you heard me mumbling.
Set the motion.
76.
What's on our past?
I guess I'd like to make one other comment. I'm a little concerned as to the precedent we would set if we did this. There's gonna be people standing in line. In fact, there are tonight. I think I'm correct when I say my wife and I were the second recipients of this type of loan back in 1978. Back then, unfortunately, the interest rate was 12%. But, you know, a loaf of bread was probably 15 cents. So it, you know, it's all relevant. Yeah. Being the recipient of a program like this, I appreciate it, I think, as much or more than anybody. But sitting on the board, I see Reg 31 coming down the pike. And that's just, I won't get into what that is, but it's gonna be a very, very expensive project. Not just for PAWSD, but for any wastewater entity in the state. So I'm, what's the word?
So you realize that we have a policy. We have a policy to waive fees for this kind of project. We have an adopted policy.
Do we have the money?
Yeah, and the policy does say we don't have to give the waivers. That's written in the policy.
Yeah,
You don't have to
but-
give the
but-
waivers, but there is an established policy.
Yes, but I think the relevant information here is it's already been paid because that was the policy. And here we are again, you know, we just heard from a gentleman who said it all pencils out and he paid it and he's coming back and not wanting to pay it now. I'm
Though to be fair, Gene, his project pencils out for a set of almost unimaginably wealthy investors in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco who buy these tax credits. And that's not what's happening with Habitat, you know?
No, I get that, and that's why I brought up the fact that back in 1978, I went through this.
I do have something to add on that note. We get construction financing through Habitat Colorado. And so we had our construction financing dispersed in the spring. We haven't finished construction yet, so we were able to float the cost of the SIF fees for that reason.
Well, what's been our policy in the past? I mean, I'm new. I said no. What's our policy in the past with Habitat in particular? Because I do see some PAWSD fees here, connection fee in 2020.
Well, like she said, we were the first to step up and support in a number of ways, and we supported
We've always given.
all along.
We've always waived the whole.
But
We've always.
The SIF fees.
what pays for these waivers, correct me if I'm wrong, is the affordable housing surcharge, which is, we're in the red right now in wastewater. And I'm not sure exactly how it's doing in water, but I know there's not a whole lot of money there. And I look at it as I used to work with an analytical scale, but it's a scale and it's in balance right now. If we forgive a certain number or amount of fees to someone, no matter who it is, it goes like this. And because, you know, PAWSD is nonprofit, we don't have, what do you call them? Stockholders. I mean, we have our community and our customers, but as soon as the balance goes like this, we've got to get it back into balance. And that means other folks are gonna have to pay either higher monthly bills or we're gonna have to up the capital investment fees. And I just don't have a great feeling, and I'm sorry to say that because I am a proponent, but Bill.
I'm wondering if Cindy, we heard a comment that we're in the red on wastewater.
Yeah.
We have the numbers here.
Yeah.
And so can you give us those numbers?
Yep. So year to date, in what we've collected towards, when we granted Timberline their waivers last year, that was really the project that put us into the red. Both CDC and Habitat's waivers last year came out of the fund that we had sitting there for a while. So to date, we are 559,475 in the red on the wastewater. And that the lion's share of that is, all of it is from the waivers that we granted.
But our calculation was that over a 10-year period, we were gonna have so many requests. And this year, I think we're gonna have 8. So that's a lot less than we had the
63.
3 last year. So, I mean, and we're not through the year, of course, we haven't finished collecting for the
Right,
year.
right.
But I think to punish one project for the fact that we were very generous with Timberline.
Well,
doesn't
I mean,
sit well with me,
yeah.
doesn't it?
I mean, the issue would be, and it's highly unlikely, if we got a second 50-unit LIHTC project proposed within 2 or 3 or 4 years, then we wouldn't be able to amortize what we've already. It just happened that a very big, attractive project hit the first year. I mean, this year we may have, I don't know how many actual units will be in the ground. It may only be 3 this year. by Christmas, and maybe 4 or 5. But I think we have the flexibility to dedicate a certain amount of the 170. We can discuss what the surcharge should actually be bringing in at some other point, but let's say the budget number is 177,000. If we were dedicating, say, 3 to Habitat, that'd be 16, that'd be 48. We still have about 120 to play with to pay down last year and to kind of keep a balance going forward where we extend some, but we reserve maybe at least half of the monies we collect to pay down. And then when we get to the point where we can't do that, then I see Gene's point.
So, a question for the staff, because Gene's concern was we've got other people in the pipe, hence the presentation we had right before them, but I'm just saying, is there anybody else in the same situation where they are used to getting, now this is staff, where they're used to getting an exemption,
Yes.
but they already paid it? Is there anyone else in that boat where they're used to getting an exemption, they've already paid it, and that would obligate us to a commitment? Is there anybody else in that situation?
We do not have anybody who already paid that has received waivers in the past. I came back in 2023, July of 2023, and Habitat had received waivers in.
I believe they received waivers last several years.
And again, I just heard his concern if there was other people, so it made me think, okay, there's other people that have paid it. So it sounds like to me, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, but it sounds like to me, if we make this decision tonight and reimburse them the amount that they're owed, it doesn't put us in the same situation with anybody else, because no one else has been in the position.
Actually, there is one more that will be talking
Oh,
tonight.
Okay,
But that was from 2024.
Next on the agenda.
okay. So, I mean, would it be smart to listen to the next one before we make a decision?
You have 2 more.
Or,
I don't know that it would. And I think it unfortunately opens the door for more next month after. It's setting a precedent which, and you use the word punish, and I don't want to punish anybody. You guys do the most fantastic collaborative work that anybody could ever imagine, but we are fiduciarily, is that a word? Our fiduciary responsibility, is to look at the bigger picture and everybody and help where we can and say, I'm sorry when we can't. And I think just about anybody who was put in the position you were would probably have gone out on a limb like you did. That's just good strategy, but Bill.
So I'd like to make a motion that we waive the fees that have already been paid by Habitat for the SIP.
Got a motion on the floor?
I'll second that motion.
Motion on the second, discussion.
I'll also point out, just going back to that meeting, that the line of people out there that are going to be providing like single family homes for folks at 60% AMI is an extremely short line. It really is. I mean, 2 of these folks are at 60% AMI and one is at 80. Putting them in single family homes, and again, it's important, in District 1, where they'll be paying full fees, including affordable housing surcharges, and considerable property taxes on $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes for the next 30 years. So I won't waste our time, but at some point we should have a work session. And if you look at the numbers, when affordable housing happens in District 1 versus when it happens in District 2, when we have to treat all the waste for $3 a month, it is a pretty scary number. So I would really like to incentivize Chris Mountain.
so we're in discussion, right?
Yes, sir.
So question for you, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. It helps appease me that two of the people that have been on the board the longest actually voted for it. But what happens if Gene's correct and it was said no? Does that get passed on to the loan? What does that do to you is all that I'm asking. Because I don't feel like that was, so.
Without betraying anybody's financial information, it would not fit in our construction budget, so it would be covered out of the general funds of Habitat. And we would probably have to, fundraise for it and then reconsider what we're doing next year if we have $80,000 in unexpected expense this year.
That makes sense. I appreciate your answer.
The other thought that comes to mind, and I've said this at past meetings, and I don't know the demographics, but that's why I applauded 50 new apartments. I still think, without knowing any recent demographics, that more apartments are needed, even at $300,000. That's the best number in town, there's no doubt. But it is still difficult for the person, I assume, maybe I'm wrong, to make that house payment. Because that's not everything. You got mortgage and insurance and all kinds of stuff.
Our front end ratio, that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, is capped at 30% of their gross monthly income. 30%, not 33, which is the USDA's maximum, not 41, which is other conventional loans. FHA goes all the way up to 45% front end ratio, 55%, including like credit cards and car payments. This is a good program. It's more difficult sometimes for applicants to qualify because those ratios are so restrictive, but it sets people up to, they're not paying half their paycheck before they even pay taxes just on their house, before they even buy groceries. It's at a third, less than a third.
But you still structure it always in a 30-year loan, or does it sometimes get pushed to a 40, 50s? I mean, your in-house financing, I think you said. So do you push beyond when the 30% doesn't make ends meet, or how does?
So we don't in-house finance the primary, the first mortgage. USDA sets those terms, so it's 33 years or 38 years.
Okay.
So that's a unique thing. But the forgivable silent second mortgage is a 30-year term. But that's just kind of like adding a little bit of equity every month for 30 years, and they never make a payment on it.
Another thought might be I remember Paul sitting there and saying, is there a compromise? Is there a hybrid? Instead of 75,000, is there a lesser number that still works? I don't know. We all pay water bills, and new people, new businesses, whatever, moving in, pay the CIFs, and that's what I hear most of, not overwhelmingly, but why are your fees so high? Well, generally speaking, like on the wastewater side, it's EPA and CDPHE. We have no choice. When they say do this, we have to do it. So there's no wiggle room, per se, on a lot of the fees.
I hear what you're saying. I'm closing a loan next week in Cortez, Colorado, one of the USDA loans, and we get those numbers from that Habitat, and their monthly water sewer is $30 in Cortez. And it's just a different situation,
If I can really quickly, I don't mean to prolong this. Len, I've heard a lot from Bill on his perspective, and with you seconding it, I just want to hear kind of what your promotion to this is. I heard the 60%, I respect what Habitat does, but I'd like to hear more when it comes to budget wise, how you're find this.
I'll bring up a subject. Some people agree with me, some people disagree. I don't think when we make projections about growth and growth paying for large infrastructure items, we thought that homes being constructed by people at 60% AMI were going to be carrying the load for new water plants and new wastewater plants. So I think a lot of these quote unquote losses are paper losses, not all of them. And that what will happen if we don't provide some real incentives for folks like Habitat, is that instead of 3 units, we'll get 1 unit, or maybe 1 unit every 2 years. Eventually, you'd have to not read the tea leaves to see that if we decide today, for instance, that we're not going to support Habitat of affordable housing, they'd be crazy not to move into District 2 and work with the town of Pagosa Springs, which is not only very approachable and supportive of affordable housing, but is going to be having a sales tax, a massive $4 to $5 million annual sales tax infusion, which is going to allow them to support all manner of affordable housing, which those units then will not pay $46.50 a month to us, and $55 and then $60 a month. Those units will continue to use the pipeline, and we will have to treat the same waste for $3.20 a month. So I just don't think, I think a lot of the losses, and you could make a case that maybe the losses that we see wastewater are maybe 50% real and 50% paper. And then let's keep in mind that on the water side of things, because we have such aggressive density bonuses, we have, even last year, we couldn't spend all the money we collected, and we did 10 single family homes, CDC, 3 with Habitat, and 50 units of Timberline, and we couldn't spend all that money. And that money is already in the good to 200,000, and is probably, absent another LIHTC project, is probably going to be 300 and 400,000 to the good by 2027. So I really don't think that we're in this dire position, and I really don't think that we're going to pay for the future infrastructure costs of this community on the backs of folks at 60% AMI and 70% AMI. I don't think that was ever, we're paying for this for people that move here and build really nice $900,000 homes. And we thank them for doing it.
So I don't know that I'm correct in saying this, but at least I'll bring it up for clarification. Looking at Maddie, I think most, if not all, of the money that's going to be raised from that sales tax is probably going to be spent on your sewer system.
I hesitate to speak as council member Burgon, this is when I'm here in the capacity of Habitat, but yes, the proposed ballot language is purely for infrastructure management.
Well, sure, but that money would be available to pay for CIF forgiveness that's given to Habitat homes and affordable housing projects. In fact, right now they pay for it out of the general fund, general tax revenue. They transfer it over to the PSSGID to backfill any waivers they make. After this is passed, they won't be like transferring money out of the general fund to the PSSIG when it has a new $4.5 million income stream. I wouldn't imagine, but.
Okay, well, not to belabor it anymore, we have a motion on the second. Any further discussion?
I just have one thing to add to it. I'm very supportive of affordable housing. I'm the youngest person on this board. I'm 31 years old. None of my friends, I'm the only one of my friends that owns a home in this town. I understand 100% what you're doing, and I really appreciate it. At the end of the day, our mission statement at PAWSD is to make sure our water resources, our collections and treatment of wastewater is something our customers can depend on now and in the future. That is our mission statement. We provide water and sewer, and we have problems on our sewer side right now with I&I. We have, according to state and what the EPA says, we have an unacceptable level of water loss. And I think we need to focus back on the basics before we start expanding outside of our mission statement. And that's my opinion on this, and that's why I'm going to vote the way that I am. And I feel that we need to get back to our core mission as an organization and not focus on this stuff as much. That's my opinion. And I hope that more people in the community can volunteer and step up, and that we can get more organization together. But I don't think that falls into our mission statement and why we're all here. So that's my opinion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain simply because I'm hearing so much conflicting differences that I don't really feel like I have the generalized information to make an educated decision.
Is that okay to abstain if you don't? Just for any reason? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say nay. Okay. So it's 2-2.
So I'll make a motion that we reimburse 80%.
Do I hear a second? Dies for lack of a second.
So
I would make a motion that given the health of the water district, and these are two distinct business districts, that we waive the water fees and that we waive half of the wastewater fee for each of these units. Leaving, at that point, we're probably leaving $100,000 to $120,000 of the surcharge income we'll collect this year to actually pay back what we granted LIHTC.
Also,
I mean, I think that's drawing a balance between helping today and paying back last year.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
Okay, so I'd like to just state that the only thing I'm requesting legitimately is until next meeting to meet with probably each individual on the board and understand that I'm more than happy to make a yay or nay to the initial one next month when I know more. I don't want it to be, we have to offer something less or this. And then this could be brought up again, but for all I know, I mean, it could be a yay vote, it could be a nay vote, but I don't want to potentially get them at half because I'm not ready to make a decision and I know I was the deciding factor. So if you still want to keep that motion, I'm perfectly fine with it. If you guys are okay postponing, as far as and addressing this next month, I can feel really confident that I'm gonna have a yay or nay vote versus a abstain. So just another option.
I would want to know in dollars what that means. It's, 80%, 50%, whatever. We're talking $75,000 here or something less, it sounds like. But I would be in favor of knowing a little bit more, postponing it.
Well, the water side would be 27,000, so you'd be waiving that, but that's a fund that's like $200,000 in the black. On the wastewater side, you get 3 times 16, so roughly 48, so you'd be waiving 24, and they would pay 24. So they'd be paying $8,000 per house, which, you know what, and I appreciate this, and believe me, I appreciate the change that Reg 85 and 31 made, but, people were paying $798 until, 2021 for their sewer tap. So it's not as if, these folks are getting a screaming deal historically in Pagosa. Most people who built their houses in Pagosa paid $5,000 in total fees through 2022, $6,000 perhaps. Anyway, that was just my suggestion. Is the water fee the water fund is in the black, so we could waive that and just do 50% of the wastewater, and maybe that would be a model going forward.
Yeah, and I don't like setting precedents. There's going to be, and there are other people tonight coming forward. And I guess the way I look at it is,
That's fine.
We're going the wrong direction on wastewater. We're in the red and we're going further into the red.
No, we're not going. No, we're not going further in the red because we're collecting $3.57 per month from 5,000 people, or should be 5,000. I look at these numbers. I don't quite know what's going on there. So I mean, this year we're in our budget. We're supposed to collect $177,000 this year. If we were to approve these 3 at half, 24,000 of that 177, so you'd have 153,000 available to either give partially to another project or just pay back last year's LIHTC project. So we're not going further into the black into the red this year. That's just not happening.
Do you understand what the wastewater projects yet to happen this year are going to be and what they cost?
Yes, but that's not, they're not going to be paid for by Habitat for Humanity. You know, I mean, the idea that we're going to be building out significant infrastructure based upon home construction for people at 60% AMI is kind of really difficult to understand. I mean, we're looking at market housing is going to have to carry the load. And like I said, and if we go forward with the policy, and it may be the policy that we present no more waivers, understand that these projects just won't happen anyway. They won't happen in District 1. They'll happen around the town. And we won't get any sales. We won't get any property tax revenue. And instead of getting $46.50 and then $55 and then $60 and $70 each and every month, we'll get $3.50 and $3.60 and $3. They're still going to happen. So this, to me, you know, so that's fine. I just think long term it'll be a financial calamity for PAWS. Actually, if you look at what's going to happen if we decide as a district that we're not going to provide any waivers for affordable housing.
What would be the number of what Glenn's requesting? Do you have an estimate on that?
Yep. For water, it'd be 27,681, and for wastewater, it'd be 24,252.
That's 75% reimbursement, roughly?
No, that's the full, that would be full reimbursement for water.
I'm saying, what from what they paid, that's approximately 75% of what they paid?
2/3.
Yeah, 2/3. It's closer to 2.
You can vote on it, Bruce.
No, I know that, I'm not anti, I guess I would just ask you guys, listen, again, sorry. Maybe I should have done more research before I came. I thought this was a little bit more of a non-conflictual thing. I guess I would ask you guys, do you guys support you want the 66% back? Or are you guys more comfortable? And again, I know this isn't gonna dictate what we do, but would you guys prefer the opportunity of in a month, the potential of 100% versus 66%? Or would you prefer a vote for 66% now and that being the end?
I would appreciate the potential for 100% in a month, if that were an option.
Refresh my memory as to what forgiveness has been given to Habitat already. All the CIF forgiveness aside. In other words, have we followed policy?
This year or past years, I'm not sure what the question is.
I might,
All years.
so we historically, I think since 2021, have had the SIF fee waived, but always paid the tap fee for all the houses for the last 5 years. And then we always pay all of our holding costs. We've never gotten anything like that waived. We do seek land banking grant funding to cover that, but I haven't been awarded that yet. But PAWSD is part of my grant application, like our water sewer district is in this sort of situation. We love to like partner and support that and pay our holding costs for all of these vacant lots that we own. And just try to get that funding elsewhere rather than come back to you guys and say, hey, can you waive this $400 a quarter too? Or year.
So the whole reason you're here, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you had some decisions that had to be made right away.
When we
In the
pay,
past, we did forgive your CIFs. We couldn't do that on your time frame.
correct.
So you went out on that limb. Okay, now I'm understanding it a little bit better.
Yeah, because we want to make sure we can get these families in by Christmas. I can pay my construction loan back. You know, it's all these dominoes and it was a risk to not go ahead, get in line for the tap when we did. And I had a construction loan, You know, I'm already paying interest on it, might as well put it to work. And let pause, hopefully just hold this money for a few months, until you guys got a new board and then come back and re-request the waiver.
Okay, so what you're asking for is no different than the way you've been treated in previous years.
Correct.
You're
Yeah.
just asking for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, because we didn't, in previous years, the board was prepared to make a decision at the time when I needed a green light, basically. And actually, yeah, I ran into you guys coming back from Denver when you were asking the state for some kind of exemption or exception to try and like help this community out of these huge expenses that you're having to face right now. And so that was when your staff brought it to my attention, like, hey, the board's not going to make a decision yet. And also explain the implications of that, then we don't get in line to get the tap, then maybe I'm looking at delays on my construction. Yeah.
Okay, and now that this tiny little brain has a little bit better idea of the timeline and everything, I think I would support Glenn's suggestion.
The second one or the first?
So just to be clear, Bruce just asked if they'd like to come back next month after he understands the situation. So that he can vote yes or no, because he doesn't feel like he can vote yes or no without knowing
wasn't
all the
motion.
details. That wasn't the motion. So Glenn could withdraw his motion if you wanted.
That's
And
correct.
we can come back and discuss this next month. And either pass 100% or pass a partial waiver next month, but that's up to Glenn to withdraw his motion.
Glenn, you're up.
Oh, well, since I believe Leah would prefer that I withdraw the motion. And I think just to pay respect to a fellow board member who actually has demonstrated a really quick learning curve on the board and is candid in a public meeting about what he doesn't know and the time he needs to really research the issue. I think that's, I have a lot of respect for that. So I will withdraw my motion.
Okay, so I think that puts us at, we'll see you next month.
Okay, I'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we'll make sure we get that on next month's agenda. And now, number 9, consideration of request for waiver of 2025 capital investment fees from the Community Development Corporation. And just to clarify, these are fees that haven't been paid but are due, which they would like forgiven.
Very clear.
Wait,
Yes, thank you.
Every once in a while, I
You got it.
surprise myself.
You got it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, directors, for allowing me to speak with you tonight. I am, for the new board members, Emily Lashbrook with the Pagosa Springs Community Development. We were tasked with workforce housing by our elected officials in February of 2023 because we have a problem keeping our workforce in this community. We had lost teachers and firefighters and EMTs and nurses because of the affordability problem. We worked alongside of Habitat and learned some from them, and we worked with them to partner on a grant that I'm going to show you the impact that that's going to have both on PAWSD and our workforce housing project today. We also worked to recover those tax lien properties so that we could keep the cost of the final build as low as we possibly can to hit that affordability measure. So I'm going to go through a couple things for you today. I'm going to bring you up to speed on our More Housing Now and the impact that it's going to have for PAWSD and how many new customers I already see that you have and how many more you're going to gain because of the work that we're doing. And then also some of the other partner ways that we've been able to help with PAWSD and bringing in workforce and paying for interns here. And I really see this as a huge partnership with PAWSD because we continue to look for grants to help the situation that you're in. We continue to collaborate with staff on You know, can we help in this way or can we help in that way? So I'm gonna go through today kind of where we're at. I want you to understand where we're at in Chris Mountain 2 in your District 1, bringing new customers on, all the work because of our housing project and the impact that it's gonna have. First slide, please.
And I'll just make a comment that CDC's main mission is economic development.
It is economic development. Thank you for bringing that up, because there's two things that I can't do before I diversify the economy and take it away from being heavily subsidized by tourism, is we don't have any housing for anybody to live, and we don't have a workforce center. And those are we don't have a training facility. So those are two of my main initiatives that I'm working on right now so that I can eventually get into Cloman and recruit light industrial and light manufacturing to offset our economy. So it's all part of the master plan. First, I want to say thank you for your vote of confidence last year in our first 10-home build. This board did forgive our first 10 homes of capital investment fees and waive those. And we were able to finish our build both on time and on budget. And currently, out of that 10-home build, we have sold 5 homes, and you're going to see some of the home buyers in the slide presentation today. Our target was our workforce, people who are actually working in our community in the areas that we all need them to be working in to make a healthy community. We have a 911 operator, we have a teacher, we have 2 town staff. And we have a fly fishing guide that works a second job in the winter time when the fly fishing isn't busy. This is the people we are targeting with this project. Our workforce, your staff, people that actually make our community work. So thank you for your support last year in helping us to build the heart of this community by keeping those families here so they don't leave because they can't afford to live here. Next slide, please. Overall, our objective is to build 45 homes between us and Habitat for Humanity. We pledged those 45 lots for a $1.9 million grant for infrastructure improvements out in all of Chris Mountain 2 and trails. So we completed 10 homes that hit between 80 and 100% AMI. I can tell you that we disqualified 23 people that made under $1,000 a year. Too much of the 100% AMI. So we really are hitting the target and we have no wiggle room there. Our goal this year is to complete 5 homes. Our initial goal was to do 10 homes a year for 4 years and then round out whatever we have remaining. However, the infrastructure that's being done on Traveler Circle is not ready for us to build on. And we can't wait much longer, and it won't be done in time for us to break ground this year and get those houses roughed in before the snow flies. And if we can't do that, we shouldn't start those homes. So we've cut back to only 5 homes this year that are not on Traveler Circle. We are building 2 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and 3 2-bedroom, 2-bath. All have a 1-car garage. I can tell you the 3 bedrooms, the top income level for that house with a 2-person income is $103,000. That would be 2 $50-ish thousand a year jobs holding up a family of 4. Just kind of giving you real numbers here. We're asking for your continued support tonight to waive the capital investment fees for both water and wastewater for our 5-home build this year. This is our teacher on the left side, and then this is our fly fishing guide. Both of these houses closed on February 14th. And they are all happy in their homes now and thriving. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the map for Chris Mountain 2 and trails. We applied for a grant because there is not a lot of electric in this entire development. And Habitat and this is Traveler Circle right here. This is the road that's in construction if you've been out there at all. we needed to get electric into here. So we started looking at this grant, and when we found it, we decided that there was enough allowance in this grant to electrify this entire development, not just serve ourselves. To me, that's community development. So we applied for the entire grant, and we were awarded that grant, and that work already started this year. We got awarded in February of 2024. Took a little while to get the RFPs and the contracts and all of that, but our work started this year. With the trenching that has to go on Travelers Circle, that is sandstone rock in there. And if you get an opportunity to go out there in the next week or so, look at the size of the saw that we had to bring in and that amount of teeth that we broke on that sandstone just to put electric and fiber in. So we did get all the electric put in there. We are coming around here. We put it in El Dorado. We put it in Bonita. Not only are we putting electric, but we're putting fiber. So in our office, we also manage the all the broadband assets for the town and the county. So this was a very easy thing to add into our grant, and the grant is paying for all of this. So electric goes all the way here. It comes down here and hits a couple houses. It'll go into Abbey Court. It comes down here. It'll come back on this side of Domicile. It'll go all the way up High Drive. It'll hit Crescent. It has already done Tower. It goes up here. It'll go down here. It hit Martin Court already and Yeoman Drive. There will not be one lot in this entire development that is not served by electric. There's only 2 roads right now that I'm aware of that don't have water and sewer, but it's on both sides. So what we did by applying for that grant is we opened up the availability of an additional 168 lots to affordably be built. This has already started to happen here. I counted 5 homes just the other day, right here on Trails Boulevard, that are brand newly built. They're already connected to PAWSD and they're waiting for that electric to get here. I can tell you that all of the electric work will be completed by the last day of August this year. We are a year ahead of schedule. The road perfection will go into every cul-de-sac. It will create Travelers Circle that wasn't even there. It was a rabbit trail at best. All of these cul-de-sacs, Shelter, Mohawk, Tower, Abbey, Monastery, and Martin, all of those cul-de-sacs will be brought up to county code, and all the roads will be widened right here on High Drive. So all of a sudden, all of these lots are very buildable and very affordable for people to build, because they don't have to pay to extend the electric. It just goes from the road to their house. It'll make it much, much more affordable. Next slide, please. This is some of the trenching that's going on. This is on Eiffel Court. This is going up High Drive. The orange conduit that you see, anytime you see that, that's fiber going in. So what you're gonna see is there's 2 orange pipes standing up out of this trench. There's 2 orange on the other end of the trench. And when we get all the electric in, we will connect all those fibers and we'll light everything up near the end of August this year. Our housing project has had a profound impact on the affordability of building out in your District 1. Next slide, please. This is just showing you the electrification. This is a map from La Plata Electric and the design of the build going into Aurora Court. Where you see these squares, these are transformers going in so that it's easier for all the houses to get to. Carolyn from La Plata Electric did her due diligence and made sure that every single lot can be served in the electrification work that we are doing. Next slide, please.
This is the other half of the slide. These light blue lines I just wanted to share with you is where the electric currently is. So we had to go back and fill in like where it isn't. But we were able to do that with this grant, and that's how it all blends very well. When we brought in our ISP, we are sharing these trenches that we're putting new in, but we now have made an agreement that he's gonna go back in and get fiber to all the homes in Chris Mountain 2 and Trails. He's gonna do the people that already have the electric, and that's going to be on him. We don't have to pay for that. That's just part of the ISP development because we made a deal to share part of the trenching costs with them here. Next slide, please. Wherever you see this electric going in, the road is going to be perfected. That's a little bit longer process because of the rock that we're dealing with out of there. This yeoman down here, we were able to leverage the Fairfield bankruptcy fund and get this road included in all of this development. And that's what actually helped us to achieve electrification on all lots. Next slide, please. So the blue squares that you see here are the lots that are owned by the CDC and Habitat. The 5 that I'm gonna build this year are right here. And then this is where we own the rest of our lots. I built these 2 this year in 2024. We built home court, we built all of this and this, and now I just have to wait for that. Yes, sir.
You have homes on generators. How do they get COs?
I don't know, sir. I just caught them when I was out inspecting the trenching that was going on. I saw them operating on generators and they're completed homes.
With people living?
People there. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I just was surprised.
The other question comes up. Great job in getting the grant for La Plata to put everything in and roads. I can't even believe accomplishing all of that. But the folks will still have to pay connection fees to La Plata. What is that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's just for main lines, not service lines.
Yeah, currently, where you saw the blue lines, like there were blue lines like right here, and if they had a house up here, they would have to pay to extend the main line from here to here. I can tell you, I heard a quote on this high drive that it was $78,000 just to put that line in, but that did not include trenching, and there is sandstone on this road. I know that because we just went through it.
Most of Trails is rock.
So all of a sudden, the people up here at Crescent Court are like, it's too cost prohibitive for one person to carry that burden. But when this grant can come in and extend the main line, it makes it more palatable for people to just go in and have to extend it from the main line to their property. Okay, next slide, please. The impact on workforce and affordable housing that we've had because of this project. We were the first in Colorado to get our housing needs accepted by DOLA. We started that process early because we really wanted to understand who needs housing. What is their AMI level? What type of housing do they need? Where do they need it? All the things. So we did get our state approved housing needs assessment. We also created a fair and equitable lottery process that can be repeated, and we have wrote the rules on it, and we've tested it, and it can be repeated for anybody who does workforce housing or any kind of low income housing where they need a lottery process. So we have a lottery process now in Archuleta County. We also created a deed restriction that will last for 30 years. And then we created an affordable housing guidelines document for anybody that's building deed restricted homes. This is a how-to book, including the the benefits of doing it, like what am I trying to call it? The fees that the county would waive, you know, the incentives there. I got it. Been a long day. It has the incentives listed in it, like if you build between this range and this range. This was a community process. Bill, I believe you participated in this. These affordable housing guidelines will be presented to both our town council and our VOCC for official adoption. So we've made a big impact on workforce and affordable housing for other people to hopefully get into this boat, because we want to get back to economic development one day when we get done with our housing project. So the housing needs assessment was a state required item on SB 174. Our next action is to create a housing action plan, and that will be including PAWSD, because what we have is a company we've hired. I'm sorry. Are you getting tired? No. Okay. We have hired a consultant that's going to help us to define as a community. This is a very community process. Where do we put housing? What kind of housing? Where does the infrastructure support it? What is our strategy to get there? How do we get there? So that is our next step in affordable housing and building a strategy for our county so that we have a complete community buy-in on where housing goes, what kind, is it multifamily, is it townhome, is it patio home, what is it? You know, is it single family? So this is all the impact so far that we've had since February of 2023 on workforce and affordable housing. Next slide, please. So with our strong partnership with PAWSD, this is just the workforce development funding we have reinvested to help PAWSD to grow their need for employees. So we don't look at this as, we look at it as a partnership with you as we continue to look for grants and we continue to look for opportunity to help out PAWS as they continue to help us to help our community to become a more well-rounded community. But we did, even this year, we were able to contribute $8,000 in January back to PAWSD and workforce internships here to bring staff on. Next slide, please. These are only a quarter of the companies that have contributed to this project. I can tell you, I don't have enough room on this slide, but the title company actually waived part of their title search fees, only half of them, in an effort to help us build workforce housing. Our phase 1 soil tester, it would have cost us $20,000 for a pre-development cost, and they cut their price in half to help work on the workforce housing. So this has happened over and over again, and it's really refreshing just to be the one leading the charge, but people are able to come in and say, you know, if this would help, I can cut my fee in half. And it's been really a pleasure to have the community step forward as we try to find homes for the people that we need to keep here. Next slide, please.
Question?
Yes, sir.
I think I've heard it more than once. I know I've said it. I wish there'd be more participation from other entities. And maybe I'm wrong. It just seems like we get picked on a lot. But for instance, I saw La Plata up there. What assistance are you getting from La Plata? Are you getting any from?
La Plata Electric?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Black Electric.
They,
And Black Hills Energy, because the main gas line runs, I think, right through that area.
yes, Black Hills Energy actually contributed at the very beginning of this project until they realized that the state went all electric, but they did contribute funding to this project. So when the state shifted all electric, you saw Black Hills Energy retreat.
And how about La Plata?
La Plata Electric, they do not have any relief for workforce housing, but we are pressuring them to be able to allow for that. They have given us some engineering work and did not charge us for that. That was their
Because I know
contribution.
same thing's going on in Durango.
Yeah, they're fighting the same thing. I agree. we're hoping to meet with our now newly elected director soon to really start pressing on this. They are the only utility company that don't offer any assistance for workforce housing. I could tell you that when we were bringing the electric to the current houses in 24 build, we did get some alleviation of engineering fees. So here I wanted to show you what our 2024 numbers are on what it costs a person to live here. A 2-person household right now at 80% AMI is a total of $66,000 on their income. If you take payroll out and then your car payment and then your car insurance, this is the total monthly income. And then groceries, gas, utilities, this is the total that comes back out. So out of bringing home $5,500 a month, they end up spending $4,900 a month, which only leaves them a remaining income of $580. That doesn't include health insurance, your cell phone, your prescriptions, your cable, or your internet. Think about the people that we're serving. The 80 to 100% AMI is who we're serving. Next slide, please. Our commitment to PAWSD. We are seeking more funding for more public infrastructure nonstop because we need it in many different areas. We need to put phase 3 electric into Cloman before we can recruit business there. You all need help with the facilities that we have here. We did open up 168 new lots, not 165, which we believe will generate 5.3 million in connection fees for you over the next couple years as that housing development really starts to pop. We would love to see your employees benefit from this project, and we do send out promotional materials so that staff can see this. With your support, we can keep teachers, healthcare workers, and essential staff living in this community. And we will actively promote PAWSD, and I've been all over the state talking about this program because we were recognized at Housing Colorado for the amount of collaboration. I have been promoting PAWSD all along my path on what a great partner you have been. And then the CDC will continue to be a good partner to you. And we just ask for your help so that we can help the community. I want you to know a couple things. The CDC is not making any money off of these houses. We also now have $120,000 of our general fund invested in phase 1 housing project that we don't get back until we sell our last home. We have 5 homes left to sell. It's a little challenging. Our raw cost to build was $320,000 when we didn't pay capital investment. We got the property for free. We got the road perfection in. We got electric extension in. It still costs $320,000 to build. And I think you heard Leah say it's costing her $300,000 and she's doing modular. So it's just materials and labor. That's where it's at. That's what the cost is that is so burdensome. We did not pay permitting fees at the county. I also want you to know that the county pledged $350,000 as a contingency on our construction loan. The town leveraged $450,000 as a collateral shortfall on our construction loan because our houses are deed restricted. They could still only loan 70% of the value. This really was a community project. This really still continues to be a community project. Next slide, please. Please know that we completely respect your position and what you all have to do in keeping an eye on your fiscal responsibility. You're not helping the CDC, you're helping this community. We're just the driver of the bus. Krista wanted to be here tonight, but she had a family emergency come up this evening and wasn't able to make it. She is a single mom with 3 kids that was the first occupier of our first 3-bedroom home. She is the paralegal for the town. This young lady is a 911 operator. She wanted to be here, but she works the night shift and she's already at work. I did bring some impact statements from our homeowners. This is our other 3-bedroom homeowner. They just had a baby 3 weeks before they closed on that house. I can tell you that all 3 of the homeowners that you can see here today and Eric Ham provided an impact statement. I don't know if you want me to read them. Essentially, what I can tell you is that if they were to add any money to the mortgage, they would have not been able to purchase the house, number one. And they probably would not be living in Pagosa Springs because there is nowhere for them to live. So a couple things. We did hit our target market. We have hit the people that we were intending to hit, and I couldn't be more proud of that. Today, I'm here to ask you to waive the capital investment fees on our 5 homes for this year so that we can keep building our community and keeping the essential employees here. I am happy to answer any questions for you on any slide you saw, because I know that's a lot.
Why do you think you're having a rough time selling the other 5 homes?
Great question. $320,000 is the price of my home. A single person household at $66,000 at 30% of their income, they can afford a $1,650 a month payment. If you take 330, and I'm going to be really beneficial and give it a 7% interest times 30 years, a PITI loan, principal interest taxes, is $2,160 a month. There's still $500 a part of affordability. I want you to know I'm working legislatively with Cleve Simpson to run a bill to be able to allow a little more money to come into rural Colorado because it costs so much to build here. And we can't get to that target market. So we have to find people that have family or friends that have some money that can help them put down. We actually have worked with the Homes Fund a couple times that have been able to bring in a good chunk. That sits as a soft second on their mortgage and they don't pay it back till they sell the house. So that helps to not have a higher monthly payment. Those are the programs that we've been working on. We also discovered Impact Development Fund. It's a partner with First Southwest Bank that is offering a 3% loan that we've been sending people to, trying to get our people qualified. We are just working with everybody. Part of why we can't move it is affordability, number one, whether they can qualify, number two, for the down payment assistance and get that payment where they are not cost burdened. And then number three, some of the 100% AMIs or even the 80% aren't ready to buy a home. They have too much student debt or debt to income ratio to where, you know, our income level at 66,000 is skewed because of the amount of service workers we have in our community. So you take everybody else, working population, and the amount of service workers, and you put it all together and you come up with an average. We have so many because we're so tourist driven that it skews our numbers and it drops that number so high. A first year teacher makes 66,000 first year. So it's hard to find that income range that will fit in the square peg in a round hole.
The one thing I regret earlier, the gentleman who was here for Timberline, and maybe you guys know, I think all 50 of his apartments are rented.
Rented? He said he didn't open until January. He doesn't.
But they've got pre-rental agreements is what I've heard. Does anybody know?
No, they do not. They're doing pre-leasing starting in December.
Okay, I heard wrong then. But I'm still, I guess, a fan, which kind of solves the problem. If an apartment rental is, you know, brand new, marble tops and nicely done, it's 12, 13, 1,400 a month. I guess I'm a proponent for more apartments for exactly for the reason you just said. The people who aren't quite ready. Do we need homes? You bet we do. And if they can't be done any cheaper than 350, 340, 320, 300, do we need apartments worse right now? I guess is my question.
Well, let me tell you what the housing needs assessment said, and I'd love to give you this needs assessment so you could digest it. I'll send it on to staff and they can distribute it. It said that we need rental projects anywhere between 60 and 80% AMI. We need 400 units over the next 10 years. For home ownership, it said we need 100 to 120% AMI. We need 400 units over the next 10 years. Right now, that in between 80 and 100% AMI, you know what we need in 10 years? 68. Kind of crazy, huh? Now you see why we're having a hard time selling those, but we can't stop building or we lose that $1.9 million grant. So we have to keep this ball going. And we're gonna find a solution, which is why I'm working legislatively to try to get more money dumped to rural Colorado. Yeah, the Prop 123 doesn't quite work the way they designed it to work. But we're gonna keep working on that to get it changed so that it works better for our community.
Any questions from the board?
Great.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, just the biggest picture question is if this board decides that it really is not going to waive any more capital investment fees for water or wastewater, where does your entire project go after that? I mean, does it?
If it doesn't waive any more fees, my hope is that a couple of things are gonna come into play here. Number one, we're gonna get it legislatively changed. We have some really good movement with the CCI, and Commissioner Brown is actually championing this with us, with the County Commissioners Inc. across the state. We have some good movement there. So I really am hopeful we're gonna get that money lift that we need for rural Colorado that could actually help pay for some of these capital investment fees. If we go up on our cost of our housing, it gets sent on to the homeowner and makes it out of affordability. I mean, we are so tight on the margin, leveraging everything we can, like every penny we can, every permitting fee, the PLPOA fees. They actually waived all the permitting, all the transfer fees so that we don't have extra fees. Do you know the real estate sector has come to the table for a enterprise zone tax credit and are acting as a transaction agent so that they don't put any more burden on the homeowner. They don't make any money, they get a tax deduction off their credit, and they're doing it. We've had 5 come forward already. It's just been really a big community project, and everybody's pulling to keep our people here.
Well, if we look at our 2 different buckets, water and wastewater, and one in the black, one in the red, one getting further into the black and the other less in the red, but still in the red, and the board would decide to waive the water fee and to offer you like a 50% reduction on the wastewater fee, is that something you can accommodate, or is that still something that's going to sink your project?
You know, anything that you pass on to us, we have to pass on, because the CDC is a nonprofit. We are the Economic Development Agency. We're here to work for community good, and we only do community good. So anything that gets passed on to us, we have to pass it on. So it just, I think I'm going to be really truthful with you, Glenn, that if those fees come into play, we likely won't take the grant funding, and those houses won't be 320, they'll be 420. And we'll just try to sell them because I don't have anywhere else to leverage. I've leveraged everything we can.
Right. Okay.
And it's just a big enough chunk that it throws us out of affordability.
Well, and it's probably fair to say that Chris Mountain was a modern ghost town before you brought together the funding to bring utilities there. And even if we support, to whatever extent the board is comfortable supporting the development of these 45 units, one, those are 45 units. If they're not built, they never pay fees anyway. And you're also opening up another 110 to 120 market rate units in that area, which are going to pay full fees. And, and the whole thing is going to be 150 or 160, probably $500,000, $600,000 houses paying property taxes to PAWSD. So I just think the context, what you've done there needs to be understood. That you've kind of taken a ghost town and, really started the ball rolling there. So thanks very, very much.
I do want to clarify that the 168 lots that we opened up are on top of the 45 lots that we're going to build. So it's in addition to our
Great.
housing. So you're going to have 200 lots that are going to come online, which would have not come online had we not gotten that grant and the vision to improve the whole community.
So you made a statement that the grant is dependent on accomplishing the proposal, which
It
is,
is the expectation of DOLA that we complete 45 workforce housing units.
so if you can get help from the community to make that happen, then that grant goes back into our community and stays.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so I just wanted.
We are expected to produce 45 workforce housing units. In the grant contract, I want to be clear, it says that we will get utilities to 45 units. But when Patrick Rontinelli was in a BOCC call, he is our DOLA rep, he said it is expected from DOLA that you're going to build 45 houses with Habitat to satisfy the grant.
I guess the most important question looking to the future in my mind is, let's call it the bank. The bank that forgives these fees for whomever.
Mhm.
What's the future of that bank? I don't think we know that sitting here tonight.
I don't even know what tomorrow will bring. I mean, it's such a volatile world
Yeah.
right now. We just don't
Yeah.
know what, I can't even begin to speculate, sir, and to be quite truthful.
And neither can I, but which is why I would maybe suggest at this juncture to put it off till next month until we have some discussion, which I think some of it's gonna happen tonight maybe, on what the future of the bank that pays for these forgiven fees. So it's not a no, or it's not a yes, but we want to help so bad. Or at least I do. I can't speak for these guys, but we have to know what our risk is.
Yeah.
We have to
And
know
your reward, like how many, you got 10 new customers out of our houses, because we're paying for the 5 that aren't sold. You got 4 more from Habitat this year, not to mention the 5 I just counted that are on a generator. They're all connected and flushing toilets, all because of the work we're doing. So we are helping you by growing District 1 and growing the possibility.
without question.
Yeah.
Yep.
So would you be comfortable coming back next month?
I would be, because we're only just about to break ground. And I am not asking for, what did you say, forgiveness, I'm asking for permission. And I'm okay waiting a month. Yes, I'm absolutely okay waiting a month.
Can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys sticking around. I was on the PLPA board for 7 years and we explored and explored and explored. Like, how do we get electric to that? So, because here we have all these people, that's what the #1 tax sale drop was those. We constantly were in.
Why didn't you ask Eric Estrada to put something in?
Oh, yeah. Anyways, but no, I want to thank you because I know that was a huge underlying venture and I know that the cost of bringing electric in there to us was just like, there's no way,
No one single entity could have done that, and it was a perfect fit for this grant. And I tell you, we had 13 people that went to the presentation that we gave to DOLA, all from different walks. So had a county commissioner, the PLPOA director went, Habitat went. There were 13 of us. DOLA still talks about that because we all stood there together as a team and we all were working together. they still talked about 13 people standing there. But it doesn't normally happen that way.
I think I applaud all the work you guys have done. You're thinking outside the box. Just can't. Kudos
Thank you.
for everything you've done, and we will do our best once we can analyze the risk and know what we're getting into and what the future holds.
I understand.
All right, so I think,
I would invite you to come back next month.
I will
Yes.
absolutely be here.
Appreciate it.
And is there any other questions you want to know about all this work that's being done? Like, is there anything else I can answer for you that would give you a little more comfort in making these decisions?
because I've been here forever, I'm more familiar than I want to be with trails. And Chris Mountain.
Glenn, are you good?
Glenn?
Oh, well, no, I'm not feeling great right now, but yeah, I'm good as far as revisiting this next month. My one recommendation would be to actually show up with a dollar figure using your economic development chops of what opening up a ghost town to 200 homes actually provides to PAWSD.
I did that already.
And I think
$5 million.
yeah,
$5.3 million in just connection fees. That
right,
doesn't
but
include your monthly fees forever.
right, and then, like I said, the board may decide that we're not in the affordable housing business anymore, and a community will require affordable housing. They can't, of some form, and it will move to District 2. And then we, instead of collecting, $45, $55, $60 a month per home, plus fairly substantial property taxes, we'll be getting $3.23 a month, but we'll imagine that we've made a business savvy deal. I can't quite wrap my head around that. Because when we operate a district, a business district, it's really not about ideology. We're running a business. So I would,
I understand. I thank you for your time and attention tonight, and thank you for listening to everything we had to share with you, because I think it was important for you to understand the impact and what's coming forward for you.
Put us on your calendar next month.
You got it. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay, number 10 on the agenda, OH Pagosa LLC. Peter?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this very simple because I know you're tired. Ditto, any questions?
No question.
I need some water.
It's free.
One thing, I already. Thank you. I was already on, I was already in front of you guys, and I got tabled, so I won, both Emily and Leah, because they never came back. I'll present it again. I have 12 units of affordable housing, got my temp CO in 24, my final this summer. I paid 16 grand for CIF, and that's before the raise of CIF fees. I just, I'm asking for basically an equitable reimbursement of that. The gentleman before me for Timbers paid 14 grand for 51 units. I paid 16 for 8. Does this show, can you show,
Which one? What would you like to see, Peter?
just the tenants that are in there?
If you sent it to me,
It was on, I guess it was on the other side of that, out there. It's been fully rented, since, I built this. And I had kind of a chart of who's in there, but it's basically all affordable. It's, waiters, waitresses,
And you have went through the entire, whatever it's called, Section 8 process.
I went through CHAFA. I didn't end up going with CHAFA. They were extremely difficult to work with. But CHAFA.
A lot of work.
Yeah, how it works is, they're gonna be your final. you know, you find a loan and they said there'd be a 6 weeks commitment. You can't get your construction loan until they sign off on it. 6 months later, they still hadn't signed off on it, so I could never tap into the construction loan, which was out of Alpine Bank. Thankfully, I had some investors that carried me through that. I would have been bankrupt. I had already started building it, et cetera. But we do go off a Chaffa, with both the town and the, county and the state. I do have a DOLA grant. DOLA was really good to work with. And so we go off the Chaffa rent and income limits.
But I guess I've got to ask the question.
Yeah.
Do you meet the definition of affordable housing as it is stated in our rules and regs?
Yes.
That's a question for
And
staff.
so I negotiated my deed. My deed restrictions to go anywhere from 80 to 120.
I do have the deed restriction.
Okay, so, well, go up to this. So all of the current rents are at 80% or below. I've had some people with me for over 10 years in the fourplex that was redone. I bought that fourplex back in 13. I've had 3 out of 4 have been with me since I bought that. And then the other 8 are filled with, new tenants, obviously, but they've been with me since the beginning as well. And it's all, right now, everything's at 80% or less. You can see like some 875 for a bedroom, that's like 50-60%. And that's only because they've been with me for 10 years, not yanking up their rent. But yeah, so I paid the 16 grand for my CIF. I brought it in front of you guys back in 24. I can't even remember what it was tabled for. But now I'm back in, you know, if you're given 700,000 to wealthy investors in New York, why not give a little bit to the local community?
So you're requesting 16 plus.
Yeah, 60.
Whether there were waivers from other entities, did the town give you any?
Yeah, the town and the county both helped me out. The town gave me a grant and the county has helped me out with property taxes and they pay for all my landfill when I built it.
Again, you probably think I sound like a broken record. But I would suggest that you come back next month. Again, the bank.
But see, I already heard this before.
I'm sorry?
I already heard this. We've got tabled before.
He's come back the second time.
This is my second time. It's been over a year.
And I think that there's a difference.
I think it's been way
Yeah.
over, way.
When I was on PLPOA, we never tabled stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between tabling something, which is an indefinite time period.
No, I
Come back next.
understand. I was being a little.
I know you're just-
And the reason I say
Yeah.
that, and I apologize, I think
Yeah.
it's been way over a year.
It was in 24. Well, that's when I was building, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't remember you being.
I was actually on the board at that time. And frankly, I didn't push it, because really my, stance when I was on the board is much like his.
And my reasoning is the same as before. We don't know the future of the bank that is gonna pay what you're asking for. And until we know that future,
Oh, what do you guys mean by that? By the budget? Or when you do the budget?
no, correct me if I'm wrong, staff. The only fund that we have that can be used to reduce, waive portions of, or all of these impact fees is the affordable housing surcharge on monthly water bills.
Okay.
And if that dries up,
Oh, you
It's the
may
only
not
thing
be
that's
charging that fee anymore?
I'm sorry,
You may not be charging that fee anymore or what?
don't know,
Okay.
don't know.
That's the other thing is that this property alone pays $250 a year for that fee. And then with all my other properties and businesses in town, I'm sure I'm kicking in like 1,500 to $2,000. So I built affordable housing. The reason this came to be was I was on the planning commission. The town was negotiating with Servitas at the time and I knew that wasn't gonna be done, so I did it. I'm not really a developer. I'm a half-assed developer at best, but I did it. I got it built, and it's basically servicing all the people that we wanted to service. So it's matching everything it possibly can, and it doesn't make any money. I can tell you that.
Again, my first question was, as long as you meet the definition of affordable housing as our rules and regs stated.
So I mean, what is that?
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And Bill,
So this is water. This is water fees, it's not sewer fees, because you pay sewer to the town.
Exactly.
Our water fund is in the black. So this would not be a negative impact on the amount of water the water fees that we've collected over the last several years.
That's
So
correct.
we can afford this out of our water fund. But I'm not sure that all of these units are all 80% and below. Because
Technically,
100 to 80 is sometimes treated differently
No.
from 80 and below. So I know the old units
Yeah.
are way below 80%. But the brand new units, are those in the 80%?
Yeah, they're all, I negotiated 80 to 120, but they're all in the 80.
They're all
right
in
now.
the 80, okay.
And the reason I negotiated a couple of units at 100 and a couple of units at 120 is because I knew that we can't afford that as a community. I knew, like, and that's the other thing is I eat water and sewer. I don't pass it on to the tenants like the predecessor guy. So I knew that was gonna go up, and I have to eat that. So that's basically, when I negotiated the deed restrictions, I wanted wiggle room so I could survive. But right now, they are all at 80.
Yeah, okay.
I can't promise that. Future depends on, same as my bank, My bank's like your bank. I can't tell you what's gonna happen. I'm willing to table it. I was being facetious, as he put.
I don't know
I
that we
don't-
table it. I mean, we had the money.
It's a small amount. It's already, I'm not promising anything in the future. It's here. It's done. I wish you could see, I can tell you who's in there. I've got, newspaper reporter that, you guys all know, and his girlfriend, who's a music teacher at the high school. I got the guidance counselor and her son at the junior high. I've got, Decker, he's a mechanic at Wolf Creek. And I've got, Martinez, Lenore Martinez, who's part of the Martinez family that's been here forever. And I've got, two others that are, a couple that are waitresses, it's basically the makeup that we're trying to help out, And, their biggest lament is they can't buy a house. As Alex pointed out, as Emily has shown, this is where they're gonna be until they can. So if we can keep this, as affordable as possible, maybe in the future they can buy one of Emily's houses.
well,
But this is working. This is already up and done. It's working. So it's,
I applaud you for realizing that sometimes you need houses, sometimes you need apartments.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of that. What I'm not a proponent of is, you went into this and it penciled out, and that's why you built. And now.
If you call
a year or
penciling
whatever
out
later,
to 0, and yes, it pencils out.
I'm sorry.
If you call penciling out to 0 income, it pencils right out.
Well, no, you made a decision to go ahead
Yeah, I did.
because it penciled out. You didn't do it to lose money.
No, I did it because, and I hope to make money. I mean,
And I think you
basically,
do too.
yeah, I'm not gonna make money on income, but I'm hoping to make money, when I retire and turn it over. That's where I'm hoping. But that's a big risk,
Yeah.
I mean, I really did it to prove that it can be done, because at the time, we're trying to do affordable housing through the time. I think the town is still negotiating with Servitas, like when I was on the planning commission, I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I just knew it. So I talked to James, and then I talked to Brad Ash, because Brad Ash came to a lot of the meetings, and I had the fourplex in this next to it, and we kind of came up with a plan how we could do it.
So, Gene, this strikes me as affordable housing. We have an affordable housing fund that we've been collecting money from our customers for. It has $16,000 in it. He's been waiting a year to get an answer from this board, and it's a new board, maybe since that happened. And I think what we're collecting on our surcharge right now is to support this kind of a project that serves the people that he's serving. And that's our policy right at the moment. We have the money. So I'd like to make a motion that we reimburse Peter for $16,018.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
It's actually 16,223.
It's what?
16,223, the
Oh, oh,
1618 is just a combination of the rental.
16,223.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once again, I'll ask a second.
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion?
I would just make a point that I'm not like, when I review this, I'll be quite honest, sometimes you make very legalistic decisions. And sometimes when you're a board, I think we're still allowed to make PAWSD decisions. Peter's been providing affordable housing before anyone was talking about affordable housing or the crisis. I know people that have, his rents have always been hundreds and hundreds of dollars below market. And there's a level of trust that those are not going to go up unless they're absolutely necessary with Peter. So I'm just supporting his effort. I think it's a small amount relative to the amounts we've given others. I think it's fair to say that Peter was on the board and kind of had to put his own project in the back because there would have been complaints about conflicts of interest and all of that. So that kept him, and then we kicked it around for years. So I'm supportive of it. I think we're probably not going to get another project like Peter's because it's such a PAWSD project, but I'm damn sure going to vote for it because it is such a commendable project, and I think he's done great work.
Any other discussion?
I mean, I'm quite frankly confused when two funds are funded by the exact same thing and one's in the red and one's in the black, but they both came from the same amount of money.
No, they don't.
Two different surcharges. There are two separate surcharges.
Different amounts. Yes.
Different amounts, but they go.
Water and wastewater. Sometimes sewer has more breaks and more, need for replacement than water, or vice versa.
But that doesn't change the fund, that doesn't change the fact that the funds given for affordable housing.
Yeah, there's two different surcharges.
Correct.
The calculations based on it for both surcharges are based on a lot of assumptions.
Okay.
And so the assumptions for wastewater.
The assumptions were how many we're gonna need.
It didn't work out quite as well as the assumptions for water did.
So what I'm just gonna state that still being in the same boat as needing to talk to people, I still don't understand how you can have one way in red and one way in black when it seems like.
Because of the timberline waivers.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference is we have big density bonuses on the water side. So you can bring, like in Timberline, brought in 50 units was what was only assessed, say 8 EUs of capital investment fees. So when we waived those, and we didn't entirely, but just when we waived those, it was 8 times less than $9,000, so 72,000, wound up less than that. Because we don't have density bonuses on the wastewater side of things, because there's, a 2-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom house is probably going to produce pretty close to the same amount of biological stuff. So Timberline came in with 8 water EUs and 50 wastewater EUs. So when we waived what we waived for them, it was a much higher ticket. And of course the fee was $8,900 in water and $15,600 in wastewater. So that even made it more. So that's the divergence between the two funds.
So we assumed when we came up with the equation, we assumed we were gonna get so many water capital investment fee waivers and so many wastewater capital fee waivers. We made these assumptions and we're way off on the assumption of wastewater.
But and again, call me special, but I just don't understand how being a nonprofit, they make a decision to go $500-something thousand into the red. When you don't have, I mean, maybe we're just in the red because that was projections, but, so that, all that I'm saying, my main point, Peter, is for me, I'm gonna abstain just because, again, I've got a lot of questions. I don't feel like now is the time to discuss 40 minutes with Justin and, you know, so I'm gonna abstain from the simple standpoint that I've abstained from both theirs as well. I wanna take that stance tonight. If it passes, rock on. I mean, I'm 100% support the board. I just don't feel like I know enough. And I feel like it would be completely unfair of me to tell them, I'm not gonna vote on yours. And I still don't understand enough, even though I understand that we do have it and stuff. So I'm just letting you know why I'm gonna abstain and I don't want, I love what you've done. I'm so proud of like everything that's going on. I mean, and Pagosa's stepping up. It's awesome to see.
Would you commit maybe to spending a little time with staff?
Correct, 100%. Like I said, if it doesn't pass and it's still a next month thing and it's still 2-2, by all means, please come back next month because I will have an answer. I just gotta understand enough to actually make an educated decision.
Fair enough.
And I feel like that's my fiduciary duty and my obligation of being a board member. So when I apologize, like I said, if I would have known a little bit more, like else, this is how I saw it going in my mind. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I need to do more research. So,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Any other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay? What's yours?
Yeah, opposed.
Here we are again at an impasse, 2-2, so it fails. I guess I would suggest, I know you're tired of hearing this, Peter, and I apologize, but come back next month when the entire board is a little clearer on the future and BJ understands the concept a little better.
Okay. Can I ask why you guys oppose?
For me, it's not knowing enough about the future. And secondly, it penciled out and now it doesn't. Again, you're asking for forgiveness instead of permission.
Right.
That's why I voted.
The reason I voted no is, I ran a campaign to get elected on this PAWSD board. I knocked on hundreds of doors. I gave 6 speeches at different organizations. And I don't believe that the affordable housing surcharge and us basically taking little bags of money from different people and then deciding who gets that bag of money. Said none of my friends can afford a house. I got a lot of friends here that are 50, 60, 70% AMI that are paying into this. And that was a promise I made to my ratepayers as part of my election. And I got the most votes. So I have to honor.
So your
what I
position is to
promised.
take away the surcharge?
That would be my position. Yes, sir. And the reason is that's the impact, that's the response I've gotten from the community. And I believe until we can get things a little more in order, and I think that's more of a board issue than it is a staff issue. Our staff is incredible. They've done an excellent job, but they go off the direction of us. And our water loss has gotten out of hand and our sewer I&I is a problem. And we need to focus back on our.
Okay, and I understand all that, and if I could just have one more comment.
Sure.
Basically, what are you gonna do with the fees you've already collected?
There's several options, and I think we're probably gonna get into discussing that, if not tonight, then
Okay.
it will be soon, but,
Again.
we have a high on one end and above on one end and below on the other end, and maybe we try to balance it out.
I'll just finish up with the comment that I think it is egregious the reason I'm back here, it's not because I'm desperate for 16 grand. But, you guys as a board saw fit to give, 700 grand to the gentleman before me, Timberline, for, out of town investors. That's great. That's great that they're coming in and they're gonna build affordable housing and they're gonna pass that all on to their tenants. But I think it's a little egregious that you made such a big deal with them. And then a little guy comes in and you say, yeah, not you though.
I understand. I agree with
All right,
what you're
well, that's
saying.
all I
I
have to
wasn't
say.
support of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where are we? All right, who's on the agenda?
Consideration of affordable housing surcharge.
Okay, consideration of affordable housing surcharge protests. Who is?
You'd like.
Oh, thank you. Right.
We have somebody speaking on this.
Is anyone here in attendance regarding the affordable housing surcharge protests? No. Did you protest this? No, or did not? Okay. We did invite all of the people, all of their comments were included in the board packet. I also provided those on, I believe, 7/29, leading into our 7/31 meeting. And I did reach out to each and every one of them, and I invited them to the meeting tonight a couple times. I did hear back from just one person that she was not going to attend. She said she had evacuated.
Did everybody on the board get a chance to read those protest emails?
I did, yeah, certainly. One of them I thought was really quite balanced, and it presented the kind of real life balance that you're trying, some of us are trying to make. That, you know, by definition, our average customer, again, it's at 100% AMI. Some are housing insecure, some are housing iffy, some are super secure, so it's a whole different. But that balance that I'm paying this, but you know, I'm not benefiting from any kind of affordable housing right now. I'm living in a rental that is probably market, or so I thought that was a real legitimate one. I think many of the others, quite frankly, were mean-spirited. They were insulting, and they were completely lacking in any kind of factual basis. The idea that the affordable housing surcharge is a violation of transparency. I mean, we actually put it on the bill every month. The reason there's a surcharge is because a former member, probably one of the most fiscally conservative members, said, listen, if you're going to waive these fees, you need to put an actual precise dollar figure on it, and let's put it on the bill so everyone knows precisely what they're paying. Because every other district, we're probably the only district that does that. Every other district just transfers money from their revenues to backfill the fees. So there's no lack of transparency. We couldn't be more transparent if we put the fees on a Goodyear blimp and flew it over Pagosa. That doesn't mean you agree with the fees or not, but the charge that it's corruption, you know, and some of the letters in the Sun, not particularly these letters, are from the kind of Yahoo Wayne Bryant sect. I'm sorry, that's where they're coming from, with these charges of massive corruption. And I would just point out that we have 10,000 customers, and there's not a single person in the room to protest it.
Carl's got a comment, but I would just like to say briefly that these surcharges went into effect in 2020, I believe. Included a huge amount of community input. People not on the PAWSD board, people not PAWSD employees, people like Josh Kurz, County Commissioner Ransom, Al Pfister, people like that put in tons and tons of time and hours to come up with what they thought was an equitable surcharge. So it wasn't a, you know, PAWSD doing this kind of a thing. It was, you know, we see a need. How do you guys feel we should attack this need, or you know, whatever word I'm looking for. So I believe it was intended that this policy would be revisited in next year. Am I correct in that, staff?
I think you're confusing this policy with the drought management plan.
Yeah.
I probably am.
Yeah, I think you are. So we did get a lot of support to do CF waivers. I don't think waivers had opened a committee from the public talking about the actual surcharge. The surcharge came out when we first started discussing
Rose Mountain.
I I think staff requested that if we do that, it's net neutral in costs, just because as Avery's point out, we're nonprofit, so I didn't know where to pull those waivers from. That's where that came from.
Yeah, I apologize for my confusion.
Yeah. Well, it really started with Rose Mountain. Rose Mountain was the first big project, and then it was presented to us. And you were right, Gene, that a lot of community support gathered around Rose Mountain, and many of the people you named were very supportive of Rose Mountain. So you're not totally off there. And so then it was, how do you, if you waive 36 water fees, and there's some, issues of density and how density in a multi-building, is calculated, how do you pay for them? And originally the idea is we would split it between the customer rates and the capital investment fee. It wouldn't all be on the customers. But we've never gotten around to changing the line in the capital investment fee calculation that says the percentage of growth paying the fee from 100% to 92%. So it's all fallen on the existing customer base. And it was, and originally we were just going to backfill it. No surcharge. It was just going to come out of our revenues. But, Justin and Aaron wanted to make sure we were backfilling it. So, we were covered. And it was Blake Bruckner who suggested, hey, let's be real clear about this, because this is not, specifically, as Alex's concerns, this is not specifically a water wastewater issue. So if we're going to do this, let's spell this out very specifically for our customers. So that's how it came about. And
I think it's become that. I want to jump on Alex's point where when I was running, and I know Carl, you got your hand up. Maybe we'll wait till after board discussion and then other people. But it was really concerning when you were asked these questions when you were running. And it doesn't mean that there's not transparency. It doesn't mean that there's not those things. But then all of a sudden, there's been things said in this specific discussion of if we're going to spend the money, we need to make sure it's accounted for. And then all of a sudden tonight is one of the first times I've heard, which could just be my naivety, that we're like 500,000 in the red on one of them, which means in essence, the whole objective to actually be accountable became something that wasn't accounted for. And most people, most PAWSD paying members don't know that we're in the red in that. I didn't. And I think that's where people are coming from. And I agree with you, Glenn. I think you give a person a reason to complain and they just go to town. I mean, we've known this for a really long time, and it just continually perpetuates itself to this point of where it really is egregious, as Peter pointed out. But I do think that there is a call out there, and Alex can attest that there is a call out there for and a push for above and beyond transparency of, hey, this is how long it's actually going to take us at the current rate to get this back to neutral, not being the water one, but this and wastewater. And we are not, either we are or we're not going to give more to that fund until it's back to blank zero. So I do think that I can see, I'm not saying that I can see the way they presented it, Glenn. I thought it was very poor with most of the comments, and in all honesty, I actually stopped reading after a few because I was so like, oh gosh, here we go. But the fact of the matter is getting to that point. I think it's a call to the board now to, like Alex said, being above and beyond that. And here's how we're going to do it. And if we're going to give something to you guys or Peter or something else, this is why, and actually setting things in place that qualify people so that people don't feel like you're giving $500,000 to somebody who's not even invested in Pagosa, but you won't give X back to the locals. And again, that doesn't make it fair, right, wrong. Glenn, your explanation was awesome. I support Blake Breckner, love him. I know he moved. Paul obviously just moved as well. But I'm just saying, these people, I think their intention was right, but I think maybe we as a board need to come up with a better way of presenting this so that people can't say, because when you hear $500,000 in the rear, that's more than your house that you're selling. Yeah. It's unaccounted for money, but it still has to be budgeted.
Well, it's not, that's the thing. The idea that there was a lot of concern, where is this money going and who's controlling how much water these people are getting? Well, as you saw in our discussion probably earlier on with Timberline, all of these people are not getting any discounts on their water or wastewater. In fact, they're probably paying per square foot the highest rates of water and wastewater in the community. So I just want people to know that. And the money, it wasn't quote unquote money. It was just we forgave capital investment fees, which the year before would have been $50,000 and then became $875,000 after one meeting. We had given Timberline a letter which of support that we would waive these fees. They used that letter as part of their application to win the federal award of the tax credit. So, you know, it's pretty hard to then just pull the rug out from under them. And I think if you, like I said, if you look at the wastewater fee in a 10-year frame, and we look at everything in 10-year frames, right? You could say, hey, we hit a big one in year one, and we're probably not going to be able to afford a big one for 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 years, and that tends to be the timeline. So we could look at the revenues you're expected from this, and you could make a plan. We're going to pay back $100,000 a year over the next 5 years. So over the next 5 years, we only have this much to actually dedicate to new projects. I understand that entirely. The one other issue, and I'll shut up, I want to introduce, and I've introduced it, I don't know if I get any traction, is, you know, if we're going to run this as a business, I think we really need to look at these losses. What's the real cost and what's the paper cost? Because if a light tech comes to us, say a 50 unit light tech comes to us in 2028, and we say, you know what, we can't give you that guarantee, we're still not going to get those fees. We weren't going to get the fees anyway unless we gave the guarantee that we weren't going to assess the fees. The light tech will move down the road into District 2. When it does that, we still won't get the fees and we won't get the property tax. And then instead of getting, you know, 46, 56, 66, who knows where sewer rates are going to go per month per unit, we're going to get $3 per unit because we're still going to treat all the waste. It's just going to come up from a pipe from town and we'll get 5% of the revenue. So that's I'm not saying I know what the answers are. I know that it's a complicated question.
And Glenn, I respect all the work you guys did. Again, no Paul, no Blake, and I know every intention was correct, but to say that the loss on paper versus the loss in reality, it's hard for someone who doesn't see the whole entire picture, who doesn't spend the amount of time that we are hopefully spending doing what we do, to see that, because to them, if the water something needs fixed and their rate or their tap fee or their whatever goes up, especially to the degree that it did that you pointed out, that's still $700,000 that and we don't know with that company because nobody was on the board at that time. Maybe you know, and they told you we're not doing this unless you give us this, but the rest of the community doesn't know that. They just see that we gave $700,000 away and that now our tap fees went from $12,000 to $28,000, and that's what Alex is talking about. And that's not where I'm saying we need to necessarily do anything right now, but we have to be aware that you have however many years of board experience, and I appreciate that. And I can only explain this off because I was on the PL2A board for 7 years, and I can explain you don't know what you don't know, but at the same time, the reality that what they're seeing is that.
Right, except the money isn't given. If the money were given to them from our coffers, I'd understand. It's money that we did not collect from them for a project that wouldn't happen if we assessed it. That's all I'm saying. And I don't know what that number is. I'm saying it's not 100%. Maybe the real losses are 50% or 60%. I don't, you know, marking losses to market is a complicated thing, and I'm not saying there are simple answers. That's all. It's.
I think Carl's had his hand up longer. Go ahead, Carl.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I mean, I'm a big supporter of affordable housing. I think, you know, $650 a month is peanuts on my bill. It's, you know, less than 4% of my bill this month. What I'm concerned about is why, as an Uptown resident, am I subsidizing District 2? You're building a $44 million water treatment plant that is Uptown capable, but will not be connected upon completion. I'm also hearing people talk about how they're paying $3 a month, and I'm paying $47 a month for wastewater. I mean, that's where the money is. I mean, this affordable housing surcharge is peanuts. Why aren't you breaking down the water and wastewater bill to show how much I'm subsidizing District 2?
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Bill?
So we have a situation where there are two reasons that a government can waive fees. Affordable housing and childcare facilities. We live in a state where the people of Colorado believe that we need childcare to have a workforce. People of Colorado believe that we need housing to have a workforce. Those are the two things that governments are allowed to waive fees for. They're not allowed to waive fees for anything else. And that's the philosophy that's behind the town waiving all kinds of fees. They don't charge a surcharge. They just take it out of their revenues. Just take it out of their taxes that they collect, and they waive the fees. Or they don't collect them. The county gives away property, gives away fees, gives property tax waivers. The town and the county both subscribe to that idea that we need childcare and we need housing in this community to be a functional community. So they both waive fees. But I'm hearing from this board hesitation to have a functional community. I'm hearing from this board, we have money, but maybe we're worried about the future. Or no, I'm politically opposed to supporting a functional community because they have a different idea from the state of Colorado has about housing and about childcare. And PAWSD has been in the leadership of supporting a functional community for years now. And it seems like we're getting cold feet about it. Maybe we don't want a functional community. Maybe we just want people to leave and not work here and not be able to find houses and not be able to find childcare because some kind of a political belief about something. And I have political beliefs. I have a political belief that I want to live in a functional community. I want to live in a place where this town functions, where people can find housing, where people can find childcare, where people can find jobs, where people can find churches to go to, where people can find, where this community functions. And we're asking our customers to support that idea. And we've gotten 5 people who've complained. Of 5,000 customers, we've had 5 people write letters and say, I don't like this.
No,
I just feel like I'm really disappointed that we had to send people away when we have a policy, when we have money, at least in the water fund, in the wastewater fund. We looked at a 10-year span and said, how many houses are going to need this waiver over the next 10 years? And we got a big chunk the first year. Like Glenn said, we're not going to get 50 units every year. But we have a community that generally supports the idea of PAWSD waiving fees like the town, like the county, like other governments do to support a functional community. And so I hope that we can revisit this next month. And I hope that we can embrace a functional community, because it's not going to be functional We lost all kinds of construction workers in 2008 because the market crashed, and it's never come back. We have never come back to where we're building all kinds of houses at market rate. And it's not gonna come back. If we don't support it, if the town doesn't support it, if the county doesn't support it, we are going to have a dysfunctional community. So I hope a month from now, when we meet again, we can come to a decision that we want a functional community.
I just got one thing to say, if I could. I think we have political differences in this, and I'm not getting into an argument, Bill, but everybody in this room right now wants a functional community. We have different ideas of how to get to that, but there is nobody in this room, I don't believe there's a single person in here that does not want a functional community. We just have a different idea of how to get there. So I want to
I'd
make
like
that
to
very
hear your
clear.
idea.
I'd
like to hear your idea.
I think I've laid out my position pretty clearly about affordable housing when it comes to PAWS. My position is clear, but we all want a functional community.
How are you gonna have a functional community? Tell me.
Well, I think your ideas and mine about, that's why I said I don't want to get into an argument. I'm happy to have a nice phone call with you tomorrow, and we can spend an hour talking about this. But the way you're framing it, I don't think is gonna be successful for a conversation right here, right now, getting into the weeds on it. Because I think the whole way that you're framing it is incorrect, and that's why I'm saying, don't think for 1 second that I volunteer my time, a guy that works 40 hours a week and has 2 kids, to come in here and try to destroy our community. That's not the purpose. So we're all on the same team here, we just have a different idea.
And my point is, again, I don't wanna see this community go downhill in any way, shape, or form. I'm a person who likes to know what the consequences of my actions are. If that surcharge goes away, there are consequences to that. If it stays, there's consequences to that. I wish some people who support the idea would be here tonight. Unfortunately, even the ones who are against it weren't here tonight, but we did get 5 emails that said, forget it. So, you know, that's our community speaking. I think we've said it many, many times how we support everything that these people have done. And I truly do, I mean that. But I need to know and to answer, well, here's a couple things that I heard. The affordable housing surcharge is socialism. That's one thing I heard.
Not tonight, not tonight.
No, not tonight. Just in my going out in the community and sometimes not even asking for an opinion, but getting it. Other ones just said, hey, we made it without any subsidies. Why can't people do it today? I guess I would have to say, I hesitate to even say this, of the dozens of people I've talked to, I think it's kind of even, maybe a little bit more on the don't do it side, but there are consequences to, if we're not gonna pay that fee and we still wanna do it, there goes the balance again. One of these other fees that we collect is gonna have to go up or we have a problem. So that's where I'm coming from. And I agree with Alex. I am so totally in support of a functional community, because here's what'll happen. I had a friend one time tell me I think his parents ran the county landfill or did something at the landfill in Aspen. I don't know how many employees they had, a dozen or whatever. They couldn't afford to live in Aspen, so they all lived in Basalt, I think. So they're driving 60 miles a day. And that, you know, that could happen here. But where do you go? Bayfield? Oh, I don't know. There are consequences, and I just need to know that a little more deeply so I can answer the questions that people ask me. I don't want to belabor it any more than that, but I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I think we're on very different pages, but you know, in a kind of hopefully a very civil and mutually respectful way. That's all. The other thing is the reality is that the big project came in year one. And if you believe that that's an actual cost, 100% cost, I don't, but I think the majority of the board does, and you decide to get rid of the wastewater surcharge that would pay that back, you're going to have to add that $600,000 onto next year's rates or the next 5 years' rates. So it's not, you're not recovering that money if you think it's a real cost by eliminating the surcharge. You're just hiking the rates because the money's already been, in a sense, spent. That's all I would add.
I agree.
So.
Well, and Glenn, I mean, I guess I feel the need to mentally defend myself, even though I strategically said I don't have a position yet. But the fact of the matter is we are on two different pages. But to Alex's point and to your point, we both want a functional community. The fact of the matter is I don't know if you guys saw it or not. I'm not tooting my own horn, but Mountain Men disaster mitigation was on both of those presentations. That's one of the ways that I do it. Now, whether we gave $100,000 of value to them or whether we gave $1,000 of value, the fact of the matter is that's one of the ways that I give back, and I give back through donating my time. I give back to other things like that. I think the main thing that's being brought up throughout the community isn't do you want this or do you not? It's being transparent about it. Because as somebody who's been on the board for going on 2 months, maybe 3 months, and this being one of the first times I've ever heard that we're potentially $500,000 in the red on something, even though a big project came up. And though you're right, those don't come up very often. There's a huge petition in the whole entire community for another low-income housing with a car wash and with a this and with a that that's about to hit right over on the other side of South Pagosa. So I think that's the problem that I can hear Gene saying. And if we've set the precedents and you guys say, hey, you know, what we projected wasn't right, but that never happens. Well, there's one on the cusp right now. That is
right, but
there's more than one.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And I'm just saying that I think it implores us to come up with systems that help us make these decisions. So when they come up, we have we will only go this far in the red because that's how long it takes to recover, or we will not go in the red again until we recover. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for take that fee away or whatever, though I've heard numerous times. I think what we do with the fee and how transparent we are about what we're doing with the fee is equally as important as having the fee. And that's what you're hearing, even though it was only 5, 6, 7, whatever emails it was, is you're only hearing from a minor amount, but at the same time, when you were out about talking and you're out about in the community all the time, which Gene is saying, and we've all heard from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, maybe more, there's a bigger problem brewing. You just have 5, 6, 7 people who are actually willing to present their idea initially. And a lot of that comes from backlash. When I was on the PLPOA, I asked numerous times for builders to come tell me why it was harder to build in the PLPOA. Not one of them would step their foot in. I heard from every single builder in town, and not one of them would step their foot into that building, even if there was 5 others, because they were afraid of the backlash. And that's what that's what we all have to understand is a small majority talks. If we make a small response that honors what they're saying, it puts us in a better position. Carl Young was one of the people who raised his hand. He ran. One of his running points was transparency. That means he believed that we weren't being fully transparent. So I'm just saying this exists in more than just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. It doesn't mean we're not being transparent. It just means maybe we're not putting as much time and effort into being as transparent as we need to help our community. That's all. I still want to vote next month on their proposal. I still want to do all this. I still genuinely have an open mind to what, how, when, where, why. I just need to understand it because the numbers that are being discussed are boggling. So.
Okay. Yeah. Talking points, Justin.
Can you top that?
Let's just start with water loss. Water loss about the same. It's 20. Well, you brought up percentage. It's 20% as of last month. It's about 368 gallons per minute.
What's the percent again?
20.
Not a significant reduction.
Well, I don't like using percent because
Right.
it's not a significant reduction. It's, when you look at what the loss is 368, it's about the same as last month. We're selling a hell of a lot more water because it's dropped. So that's why I don't like the 20%. I like the number, it's 368. And I'd really like to get the 368 down to about 250, 200, 250. I think that's where we're at. We're never gonna be down to the numbers that AWI because 50 years ago when they built this, they did a shitty job. That's just the way it goes, and we're dealing with that. So that's.
Yeah, and our connections per mile are just so low. So even if you were to plug in our connections in our mile, the max we could probably effectively hit is probably 200. And then given the state of the initial installation and all of that, probably 250 would be something to shoot for.
Yeah.
Against the declining infrastructure.
And I would expect that we'll see a bit of an increase in loss next year because of the fire.
Right.
I believe they were pulling water from the trails, and pumping it out there to go. So we're probably gonna see a bit of, but probably not significant when you look at 368 gallons a minute. So that's that. The next thing I went to was a drought management plan. You're aware we had the drought management plan. We put that in place in 2020. It was based on a community input. We had a couple people, staff members, we had a couple board members, we had business owners, and we had residents. We put this thing together. And in that, we had said in 2026 we should readdress it. Look at it. 2026 is coming next year, and I think it should be readdressed. I think it's a good plan. Now that it's in place and we're in stage 2, and we're close to stage 3, but we're in stage 2 right now. I'm hearing both complaints that we're, it's draconian, and I'm hearing we're not doing enough. So, but we might be doing all right because it's right in the middle. So I'm hearing both those. But I do think there's probably some things we can look at. One of them is waivers. We did not put a waiver in there to allow anybody to do a waiver. So I started putting together. And I think, did we send out my waiver?
No, you're the one sending the letter to the Pagosa school person.
Okay. So I made a.
Yes, sir.
I made a waiver request for, I think waivers may be something we want to do. And so, people are gonna start asking for waivers, and what I'd like to do, and if you guys look at this, if you think it's good, bad, or indifferent, we can change it, we can keep it, we can make changes to it. You'll notice on there, I put waivers for pretty much everything on there, but I didn't add a waiver for the tier adjustments or the surcharges, if we get the surcharges. I think my feeling, we should keep those regarding, even if we let you water your yard at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think you should still pay the increased fees, because really what really drives water reduction is cost. I didn't change that. I'd also think, and this is something I think we can discuss, is I think approval should be at a staff level. And my concern with not having it at a staff level is we're gonna have special meetings every 2 days. If it goes that, if they don't like the staff answer, then it's certainly come to a board meeting. But I'm just afraid if it's a board decision, they're gonna want the decision right away. And so tomorrow we have a special meeting, the day after the special meeting. So that's from that. I also, I'm talking to Bill, thought we should do some more media output. So I wrote a couple. Now we may start sending those out. So that's kind of where we're at with the waivers. So like I said, we're hearing waivers. I'm hearing publicly that it's too draconian. I'm hearing that it's not enough. So
just to fill in a little space there, I got a call from Pagosa Peak Open School because they're building a new playground, and they had just planted all of their trees and plants on the playground. And David said, "These are all going to die if I don't water them every day. Is there a way we can get a waiver?" So I called Justin, and Justin, I think he responded to David right away. And so my thought is, if you just put in landscaping and we go into stage 2, or we go into stage 3 and you just landscaped your yard, you should be able to get a waiver just for your property. And so I'm hopefully this will address that.
Yeah, and so with him, I didn't have.
And I think the
form,
staff,
basically,
the staff could make the decision, and
Yeah.
it needs to come to the board.
And like I said, I'm gonna be pretty tough on it, that one, I think, and I think you guys, I wrote a letter to approve that one. With the caveat that if we go to a bigger drought stage, we may have to pull it. If we run totally out of water, you're.
Well, I mean, stage 3 is where the rubber meets the road. I'm sorry, we're close to stage 3, and stage 3 is your grass is going to go dormant, and you can water one night a week. So, I mean, if we move into stage 3 and everyone else is told that they can water one night a week and your grass is going to go really brown, there probably will be some objection if there are some people who just are watering liberally through the entire week. I mean, at a certain point, what's the distinction between, oh, you get the water to establish the new grass, but the person who's been here for 20 years paying their fees, your grass is going to die? You know, I mean, it's not that easy to say. So as long as we're in stage 2, I can see where we have that wiggle room. But if things head into stage 3 or deep into stage 3, and then we have these people who are, I'm sorry, you can buy a Rainbird controller for $89 and you can select the days that you water. And I'm sorry that you're like me, you're 1,000 miles away and you set but you can't be watering your lawn every other day if the rest of the community is told one day because you have a $39 irrigation device. So I mean,
Glenn, I agree with you. I think that's why I like the staff being able to dictate it, because there's also a huge difference between trees that would be on a drip system that might use 50 gallons a night versus let me water my lawn for 15 minutes 3 times a day. Plant sod, and I'm gonna use 900 gallons a day. So
Yeah, anyway, that's what we're here, we're getting some comments on the difficulties in programming, which. So there's that, I've gotten requests that I have horses and livestock. I've gotten, now with the fire, we got people that want to wash their houses. I've gotten large families. But like I said,
we do have 1,800 acres of near pristine water sitting there to be piped to Hatcher. This is a good year to remind ourselves that we really need to make that happen.
great point. Yeah, great point. I'm sure that would make Hatcher a lot happier to not see their new spot.
Yeah.
Seeing it.
What is Hatcher's level?
Tuesday was down 41 inches.
Okay.
And if I just kind of played with the math, if it as of Tuesday, if it had been down 7 more inches, we would be in stage 3. So we're pretty close to stage 3. The river was at 14. It dropped down to 11. It's back up to 14 now. River's kind of holding firm, but Hatcher's going down, so that it could go from there. But it wouldn't surprise me if we went into stage 3 in the next week or 2 or 3.
And when we do, it is worth mentioning, because my wife made a comment, and obviously I don't think she quite understood the comment she was making, but she had said, oh, well, if you make us water on even days, we'll just water twice as much. I think that with stage 3 should come a realization that you can only water so much before your ground actually just runs the water off versus absorbing it.
Extremely high per 1,000 gallons.
And that's why I think no matter what we do, you still gotta pay the tier increases and the surcharges, because that's really gonna be the driving force.
True.
It's that,
We
so.
used to keep track of the level of like Hatcher on paper. Have you ever seen any of those paper sheets that?
No,
I was just trying to remember how low I've seen Hatcher in the past 40 years.
we keep it because we have a data collector that takes a shot all the times, and then.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
It's been
Wondering
down.
if it's ever been lower
It's
than
been down.
Yeah, it's typically down
96.
way more than that this
Down
year. The reason it's
96.
not down any lower is because we were able to keep water flowing. They kept giving us 1 CFS for like a month longer than we usually get, and that just kind of maintained it. Yeah,
I
this time
want
of
to
year
say
it's not
it's
unusual,
been
be twice, plus twice.
between 7 and 9 feet below spill at
Yeah.
times.
Mhm.
So we're actually doing pretty fair, just exactly for the reason you just stated. We were in priority for a while, longer than we normally would have been.
Yep. So that's where we're at. So you may hear about that if you're coming up, that we may go on stage 3-0. I'll keep you guys posted as I.
And we only use half of Hatcher.
It's only half is available to us, yes.
And someday we're gonna figure that out.
Figure that out? No, I know it now.
Well, that brings up,
Why that is, we're gonna figure out how to fix that.
Yeah,
We
well,
tried
yeah, so I think, so you got a bowl and where the straw hits is one thing, and then across, my understanding also in Hatcher, there's a rock ridge. And yes, the thing is you could go out and dynamite the rock ridge, but the concern with that is you break the bottom of the bowl and all the water drains out.
Yeah, I think the answer is we have 1,800 acre feet of really fine water at Stevens. And across the street, we have 1,000 acre feet of really fairly decent water at Pagosa, which could then be hooked to Stevens in a 2 or 3 year drought scenario, but the Stevens water is just right there, I mean.
we actually did send a blaster out into the water. Okay, you've got PLPOA's got well, it's not PLPOA, but the pier that goes out. Right at the end of that pier, connecting kind of to the other side, is a hump. We sent a blaster out there, and I don't remember what the level of the lake was at the time. But if the lake gets to a reasonable level this year, maybe someone in some scuba gear can go out there and figure out if this is the year it could be blasted. Realizing,
Or chisel a hole in the rock.
what's that?
Chisel a hole in the rock, maybe, I don't know. I think Glenn's right, though, the more effective way to get water there is a pipeline from Stevens to Hatcher, that's
Oh, I'd say both of them are.
less,
And if
Less
a
risk.
dynamite will solve the problem, it's a whole hell of a lot cheaper.
A little optimistic there, but. So that's where we are with that. I also want to mention, I don't know if you have gotten complaints, I've certainly gotten a few, that we are lowering Lake Pagosa. We are in the process of, September 7th, we're going to redo lift station 7, which is basically in the lake. So we have to lower that to get to that. This is not a good time every year. It's not a good time to do it. It's never a good time to do it. Certainly, the people who live around the lake aren't happy with it. You're probably gonna get odor issues when the lake gets lowered. I've got complaints that people's dogs are getting dirty now because the lake's low. So, but that's why we're doing it. Lift station 7, we've been needing to do upgrades on lift station 7 for several years. We've had a hard time getting a contractor. We have a contractor there, and this is when he can do it. And we have to get this done. That lift station's 50 years old.
Go for it.
And it's in bad shape, so we're gonna get help for it, but it really has to.
But at least we know when we can reach his answer versus.
Give him our number.
Yeah, give him my number. Everybody has my number. I'm in the paper every week.
When would you anticipate it would be filled? How quickly?
It probably 2 weeks after. Towards the end of September, it'll start going back up.
And get to nearly full.
Yeah, I mean, Steve.
Month later.
We'll get sent it back up from Steve.
Because for those of you that aren't quite as familiar, we would drain Stevens Lake.
Yeah.
And fill Lake Pagosa. Lake Pagosa's got customers living around it. Stevens Lake doesn't.
Correct.
I have just, anything else?
That's all I got.
I just wanted to let the board and everybody know, thus far, we have interviewed 3 people for the 2 positions that are open, Justin and Aaron's position. We have advertised statewide, I believe, in several different areas, for lack of a better word. So we hope, I'm guessing maybe next month we should have a serious discussion, give the board, Bill and my recommendations, and go from there.
My name's Alex.
No, Alex's recommendation.
Like, hey, I got kicked off the subject.
Yeah.
I'm having a rough day.
I'm not on that subcommittee.
I know you did.
You and me are on some other committee,
We're on some other thing.
whatever it is. Okay, sorry, bud.
And it has nothing to do with the drought.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Let's go home.
Can you hit the camera?
Thanks, Glenn.
Oh, thank you all.
Have
Have a peaceful night and enjoy the weekend.
I have a little.